are either off or on manner mode, and I will do the same here. There we go. May we have the opening announcements, please?
Before we begin the agenda, the Wichita-Sedgwick County Metropolitan Area Planning Commission and the Wichita-Sedgwick County Board of Zoning Appeals would like to take this opportunity to welcome everyone to this public hearing. For those in attendance, copies of the agenda for today's meeting, the public hearing procedure, and planning department staff reports on all agenda items are available in the lobby. The Planning Commission's and the BZA's bylaws limit the applicant on a zoning, subdivision, or variance application and his or her representatives to a total of 10 minutes of speaking time at the start of the hearing on that item, plus up to 2 minutes at the conclusion of that hearing. All other persons wishing to speak on agenda items are limited to 3 minutes per person. However, if they feel that it is needed and justified, the chairman may extend these times by up to 2 minutes. All speakers are requested to state his or her name and address for the record when beginning to speak. When you are finished speaking, please share your name, address, and the case number on the sheet provided in the room. This will enable staff to notify you if there are any additional proceedings concerning that item. All speakers at the podium, please remove your face mask before speaking into the microphone. Please note that all written and visual materials you present to the Commission and the Board will be retained by the Secretary as part of the official record. If you are not speaking, but you wish to be notified about future proceedings on a particular case, please provide your contact information to the Planning Department. The Planning Commission and the Board are interested in hearing the views of all persons who wish to express themselves on all the agenda items. However, we ask that all speakers please be as courteous and concise as possible and avoid long repetitions of facts or opinions which have already been stated. For your information, the Wichita City Council has adopted a policy for all city zoning items. A copy of this policy is available from the planning staff. The City Council relies on a written record of the Planning Commission hearings and does not conduct its own additional public hearings on these items. The decision of the BZA is final. Any appeal of a decision of the BZA is to the district court.
Director Waito, can we do the roll call, please?
Yes, sir. Aldrich.
Here.
Zimmelman.
Here.
Fry. Mater.
Here.
McKay. Here. Dool.
Here.
Bill Johnson.
Present.
High.
Here.
Klontz. Warren.
Here.
Joe Johnson. Austin.
Here.
Williams Bay. Thiessen.
Present.
Sir, I show all 14 members are present.
It's been a while since we had a full vote. Thank you, sir. Now we will move to the approval of the minutes for July 23rd, as the commission had an opportunity to look at it. Is there any discrepancies?
Move for approval.
Second. We have a moval by Commissioner Joe Johnson, second by Commissioner Fry. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Thank you.
And, sir, for the record.
Excuse me, I forgot to mention, we did have a couple of commissioners that were absent. We had Commissioner Bill Johnson, Commissioner John Williams-Bay, and Commissioner Gentry at Thiessen. So you will be abstaining on that. So the correct vote should have been 10-03, correct?
1103.
11-03. So much for public schools. Oops, did I say that? Next item, 4.1 will be the approval of the minutes for August the 13th. I show that Commissioner Mater, Commissioner Bill Johnson, and Commissioner Gentry Thiessen were absent. Does anybody have an opportunity to look at that? Any corrections noted? Seeing none, do we have a motion for approval? We have a motion for approval by Commissioner Williams Bay and seconded by Commissioner Warren. All in favor signify by saying aye. All opposed, same sign. The motion passed 11-03. There is no BZA hearings today, so we won't be having hearing of those. So but now we will move to the consideration of subdivision division committee recommendations. We will be hearing 2.1 for an update. Next agenda item 2.2 subdivision 2026-00029. This is the final plat of the Moorings 12th edition, West 53rd Street and North Meridian. Subdivision approved at 7-0. Does anyone on the commission would like to hear this case? Seeing none, is there anyone from the audience that would like to hear this case? If not, we will move 2.2 to the consent agenda items. Next item is 2.3 subdivision 2026-00034. This is the one-step final plat of Prairie Creek Estates. Approximate location on this is 93rd Street North and 95th Street East in the county. Is there anyone from the commission that would like to hear this case? Seeing none, is there anyone from the audience that would like to hear this case? Seeing none, we will move 2.3 to consent. Next agenda item, 2.4, subdivision 2026-00038, one-step final plat, Prairie Willow Edition. Approximate location is 117th Street North and 119th Street West in the county. Is there anyone from the commission that would like to hear this case? Seeing none, is there anyone from the audience that would like to hear this case? Seeing none, we will move 4.2 to consent, or excuse me, 2.4 to consent. I know, he's doing a great job. Next agenda item is 2.5, subdivision 2026-00045. One set final plat of the Reber 4th edition. Approximate location on this is Central Avenue and North 143rd Street, east in the city. Is there anyone from the commission that would like to hear this case? Seeing none, is there anyone from the audience that would like to hear this case? Seeing none, we will move 2.5 to the consent. Do we have a,
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I move to approve items 2.2 through 2.5 for staff recommendation.
we have a motion by Commissioner Bill Johnson for approval on consent of those items, and we have a second by Commissioner Warren. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All in favor signify by saying same sign. I do have a quick question on this. Since we did have some commissioners that were absent, that wouldn't have any bearing on the subdivision, would it? Okay, motion has passed 14-0. Now we move to the public vacation items. Vacation item 3.1, VAC 2026-0013. This item has been withdrawn from the agent. So if there's anybody here to hear that case, it has been withdrawn. Next agenda item, four public hearing items. First agenda item 4.1, conditional use 2026-00098. Staff is recommending denial, so we will be hearing 4.1. Next agenda item, 4.2. It's PUD 2026-00016. Zone change in the city from a multifamily residential district to PUD planned unit development. Approximate location of South Seneca and West Maple Street. Is there anyone from the commission that would like to hear this case? Seeing none, is there anyone from the audience that would like to hear this case? Agent or applicant, we're here. We will be hearing 4.2. Next agenda item, 4.3, PUD 2026-00017, zone change request in the city from single family SF5 residential to PUD planned unit development to create a point PUD for the general office use. Approximate location on this is West Central Avenue and North Valley View Drive. Is there anyone from the commission that would like to hear this case? We will be hearing 4.3. Agent or applicant available? Thank you, sir. Next agenda item is 4.4, zone case 2026-00035 with a CUP, 2026-00031. Zone change request in the city from a limited commercial district to general commercial. Approximate location on this is South George Washington Boulevard and East Pawnee Avenue. Is there anyone from the commission that would like to hear this case?
Mr. Chair, I will be abstaining from this vote.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Clouts. Is there anyone from the audience that would like to hear this case? Anyone from the audience like to hear this case? Seeing none, we will move 4.4 to the consent agenda item. Next agenda item is 4.5, zone case 2026-00036 with the conditional use 2026-00101. It's an amendment to, or in the city, to the PO number 140, property zone general office district with the conditional 2026-0010 to permit warehouse self-storage. Approximate location is South 135th Street West and West Maple. Is there anyone on the commission that would like to hear this case? Anyone from the commission would like to hear this case?
Yes.
Are you on the commission?
No.
Okay, thank you. Seeing none, is there anyone from the audience that would like to hear this case?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, ma'am, you will be called, just not yet. So we will be hearing 4.5. That concludes the public hearing items. Do we have a motion to accept those items for consent? We have a motion by Commissioner Warren for
Second.
approval on consent, and we have a second by Commissioner Williams-Bay. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign.
Mr. Chairman? Sir, if I could, I just wanted to check and see if the applicant or agent was here for 4.1.
Yes.
Thank you.
For the non-public item, 5.1, we will be hearing that one. Okay, so the first agenda item would be subdivision 2026-00028. As the agent here also. Okay, is staff here? Okay. Okay, before you come up, we're going to listen to the staff report. We're going to hear the case.
Good afternoon, Greg Sharon, planning staff. If you go to the plat, please. This is Moorings Plaza addition. Just a quick update that the applicant just wanted some clarification of what they're doing on this plat. If you look under staff comments, item A, City Public Works and Utilities Department comments, item 7, request a 50-foot raw water line easement through Reserve C. At the subdivision committee, they voted to remove this item, but through discussions with public utilities and the applicant, they have been working on that raw water line easement. So the applicant just wanted to give an update on where they are in that process of getting that easement approved.
Okay, thank you. May we have the agent for the applicant, please, for the update?
Good afternoon, Brian Lindeback, MKC Engineering, 411 North Webb Road, on behalf of the applicant. We are working with the City of Wichita Water Transmission Department on this item, and I guess what I would say is that we don't have a complete resolution yet, but if you feel so inclined, we would encourage you to approve it with the contingency that both the applicant and the water department come to a consensus before sending it to city council. But that's what we would ask.
Okay, thank you. Is there any questions for the agent? Seeing none, being this is a public hearing, is there anyone from the audience that would like to make a comment on this? Yes, sir. Please come to the podium, state your name and your address for our records, and you have 3 minutes, sir.
Thank you. Scott Macy, Public Works for the City of Wichita. I'm here to support the applicant's plea, specifically that in response to the request for us to revise or reinstate that raw water line easement, we have forwarded a graphic to the agent to describe that easement being shifted away from the center of the easement, of the property, to its boundary, so that it would maintain the public way for a water main in the future. And it is integral to future planning for renovation of that raw water line. That's all I have to say.
Okay, appreciate it, sir. Yes, is there a question?
I have a question for Mr.
Okay, sorry, sir. Mr. Austin?
Mr. Macy, if I understand or recall correctly off the subdivision committee, it was to vote, the motion was to approve the plat without the raw water line easement. And I think the testimony at the subdivision committee was that there were previous easements along this same alignment on this former water line that had already been removed. Is our understanding correct?
Your understanding is correct for the portions of the pipeline that are south of this subdivision. That is correct. And we are definitively wanting to maintain this corridor in all the other portions as described. And to that extent, the agent has described that the conversations that are in line with what we've requested are forthcoming.
Okay, thank you.
Quick question for the agent. And again, you're good with the working this thing out on it, even though that subdivision moved that portion out, but you're good with this?
Yeah, I think, to be quite frank, we don't have a resolution yet, and we're happy to work together with the water department to come to whatever that resolution is. And I guess the only caveat we're asking you is just to let us work on that together on our own time until we get it, that resolution solved, and then we'll bring it to city council after that's happened. I think we'll come to a resolution But if you would just give us that grace to work together to get that done, I don't know exactly where this easement's going to be, but I think there's will on both sides of the fence to make things happen.
All right, thank you. I'm gonna bring it back to the commission. I do have a question, on this. Since subdivision had voted to remove the requirement, on item number 7 and move it to the full body MAPC, so basically what staff is looking at is that we're gonna have to override subdivision's recommendation. Is that correct?
Yes, in essence, that's what you would be doing, but it would not change the vote requirement.
Okay. So what I'll do is, I don't, Commissioner Austin, do you have a,
Just clarification, you're saying just simple majority of vote?
Correct, yeah, simple majority vote would be all it needed.
okay, so what I'll do, I'll bring it back to the commission, for any discussion. If not, is there, no comments on this? Is there a motion? Commissioner Austin?
I move to approve per staff's comments and with the adding back in item number 7.
Second.
7.
Okay, with the understanding that the agent, for the applicant, will have to work this out with staff on this, correct?
Yes, before
Correct.
going to the city.
Okay, we have a motion to approve per comments made, from Commissioner Austin and a second by Commissioner Joe Johnson. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion is passed 14-0. Okay, next agenda item, would be conditional use 2026-00098. And, Brett.
Yes, thank you, Chair, Commission. We are discussing Con 2026-00098. I'm Brad Etherly for the record. For this case, the applicant is requesting a conditional use to allow vehicle and equipment sales outdoor on property that is zoned LC, limited commercial. The property is 0.6044 acres and is located at 2849 West 13th Street North. The property is being used as a convenience store and a filling station. Any former use of the property for outdoor vehicle and equipment sales would either have been non-conforming or illegal. The property was previously used for a U-Haul vehicle rental, and you can see a photo depicting that in attachment 7 in the report. Vehicle and equipment sales outdoor in the LC district does require conditional use and is subject to supplementary use regulations found in section 3D6X of the UZC. And if approved, the request would need to conform to all of those regulations. The applicant submitted site plan does not indicate any changes to existing structures on the site. The applicant intends to use a portion of the existing 2,200 square foot building as office space. Operation of the convenience store would continue alongside the proposed vehicle sales use, and parking spaces would be required for each use on site. The site plan shows a front parking lot for customer parking, and the UZC requires 1 parking spot per 500 square feet of building floor area, plus 2 spaces for the first 10,000 square feet of lot area used for sales and storage purposes, plus 1 space for each 10,000 square feet of lot area used for sales, display, or storage purposes thereafter for vehicle and equipment sales outdoor. 1 parking spot is required per 333 square feet for the convenience store. The rear lot on the southern half of the property would be used to store and display vehicles for sale, and if approved, the applicant would need to provide a revised site plan identifying which parking spaces are used for customer and or employee parking and which spaces are used for display of vehicles. Solid screening would be required along the south side where the subject abuts residential zoning. The site was developed prior to the adoption of the Wichita Landscape Code, which would not trigger coming into compliance with the code. Property to the north is zoned LC and is developed with a retail store. Property to the east is zoned LC and is developed with a strip store center. Property to the west is zoned LC and GO and is developed with a warehouse office combination. And property to the south is zoned SF5 and is developed with a single family dwelling. The property is unplatted and there are no other zoning cases associated with the property. As far as public services go, municipal services are in place. The property has access to West 13th Street North, which is a paved 4-lane collector with sidewalks on both sides, and North St. Paul Avenue, which is a 2-lane collector with no sidewalks on either side, except for the west side of the subject site. Wichita Transit does serve the area at the intersection of 13th Street and North St. Paul Avenue. The proposed application is in conformance with the Community Investments Plan. The future growth map defines the area to be located as appropriate for commercial, which is described as areas that reflect the full diversity of commercial development intensities and types typically found in a large urban municipality. So this lot has been used most recently as a convenience store and filling station. Though the use category calls for commercial uses, approval would introduce a new use that is not in the immediate vicinity. And then as far as the places for people plan, the requested conditional use is not in conformance with that plan. It is not in conformance with strategy 6 to encourage infill and redevelopment that is contextual to the surrounding environment. The immediate area does not have any vehicle sales lots, and this would introduce a new use to the area. So if we can go to site pics. This is looking north towards the site. Next, this is from the back of the southern portion of the lot. Next picture, this is looking east toward the back portion of the lot. Next picture. This is looking southeast toward the site from 13th. Next picture. This is looking southwest toward the site. Next picture. This is looking north away across 13th. Next picture. And this is looking east away, and I believe that was the last picture. Oh, this is looking south away at the single family beyond the lot. So based off of the information available, staff does recommend that the conditional use be denied, and this is based off of the golden factors. We did receive one public comment, which I did email to you guys yesterday, so you should have received that. And however, if the MAPC were to approve the application, the MAPC should adopt alternate findings, and staff recommends the conditions of approval that are listed in the staff report. And with that, I can stand for any questions.
Commissioner Mader?
So Brad, you said this entire parcel is not platted, has never been platted?
That's my understanding, correct?
Any additional questions, Commissioner Fry?
Thank you, Brad, for the presentation. One of the items listed talks about screening on the south side of the lot, but from your pictures there, that last picture that you showed, it looked like there was a solid screen. Am I incorrect?
If we can go back to that, yeah, it does look like it. Now, it does not extend to the 6 to 8 feet the entire way, so that might need to be resolved on what looks like that west side of that south lot line. And anywhere that the fence may not be in good shape might need to be resolved as well.
And 6 to 8 feet is defined in the code as solid screening.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Mr. Austin?
Just to follow up on that with Brad, if it were not the conditional use, what would be the normal screening requirement when adjacent to single family home? Is the fence sufficient, or does it require some landscape buffer and separation?
Yeah, Good question. So it would require still that 6 to 8 foot fence. Obviously, this is probably a non-conforming situation that's been done in the past, and the fence may have even been put up by the residential to the south. We don't know, but it also would require that landscape buffer, that 15-foot landscape buffer as well. But yeah.
Okay, and then follow-up question. On your alternate conditions, findings, and approvals, there wasn't any recommendation to address maybe some enhancement on the screening? Would that be an appropriate consideration?
It could be if you wanted to include that as a conditional use. It's implied that it would be necessary, but if you wanted to include that as kind of beefing up the conditional use, you could do that.
Commissioner Thiessen?
My question is regarding the Places for People plan. How would we define contextual to the surrounding environment?
That's a good question, and I might let others take that.
Sure. So it's objective. There's not an objective definition of that. So what we do is we look at the context. Both the Places for People plan speaks about both land use and in terms of design. In this case, for this particular case, we've looked at it in terms of land use. And so we've looked at whether or not there are other auto sales in the area. There are not. We know that auto sales typically like to cluster as well. So that's why we try to be sensitive to that use in particular. And so that's why you see the analysis based on that plan in terms of the context and that there's no other auto sales in the area.
Commissioner Joe Johnson?
Do you know if the residence to the south is owner occupied?
I do not know the answer to that question.
Commissioner Fry?
Thank you. If I can follow up on Commissioner Thiessen's question to staff. When I look at the community investments plan and it talks about the full diversity of commercial development and that this isn't an opportunity to add to the full diversity of commercial development in the area, is it not?
No, that is correct. And it's not necessary that we would have, there are occasions when we do have plans that have recommendations that that contradict each other. That's entirely possible. Yeah.
Thank you.
Brad, going back to the fencing on the south side of the property, if that fence is owned by the resident there, wouldn't it not still be the responsibility of the applicant to put up a solid screen fence?
That's correct. So even if they didn't enhance the fence that was already there, they would at least have to put up some sort of fencing on their side of the property or whatever that would, contribute to that 6 to 8 foot screening. Now, the other thing is we want to make sure that people are able to see as they exit through a driveway or something like that. So, if there's some sort of clear visibility triangle that would need to be looked at so that it kind of scaled down and they weren't being obstructed from their view, then that would also be something that we would.
Philip, do you have any comments?
Yeah, to Brad's last point there, the zoning code does require that a solid fence of 80% opacity or greater, so pretty unsee-through, taper down to 3 feet within 20 feet of the right-of-way line for that very purpose. So it could very well be that that fence, as it is now, as it tapers down now, actually might be in compliance with the code because it is required to taper down. I would believe that if it were to be 6 feet high the whole way, you would not be able to see through it well enough in order to back out of that driveway from the residential side. So it's likely that that fence could actually be.
Where I'm going with this is that in the event that it is required by code, but if something happens to that fence and it's not the applicants or the owners of the property right here, then if it gets destroyed or it's knocked down, that the resident doesn't have that requirement to put a fence up. So
that is correct. It is on the onus of the commercial property owner to maintain the screening fence, whether this current fence is theirs or not.
If this is approved, that if something does happen, any maintenance or whatever, that the commercial property takes care of it, so.
That is correct. That is the requirement.
Okay. Commissioner Austin?
Just a quick answer for Commissioner Johnson on the owner occupied. It appears that that is an owner occupied residence to the south.
Any additional comments or questions from the commission? If not, the agent or applicant? You don't want to, you're the applicant or the agent? Do you have any comments to make? Oh, you sure? Okay. Okay, since there's, the agent and applicant doesn't want to speak on this, is there anyone from the public that would like to comment on this? Yes, ma'am. Please come to the podium, state your name and your address, and we're only going to be speaking to the commission and on this item.
My name is Denise O'Leary Seamer. I live at 2211 West Bella Vista Street in Indian Hills, Riverbend. Indian Hills Riverbend neighborhood concurs with the Planning Commission recommendation to deny the conditional use request to allow retail sales of used vehicles at 13th and St. Paul. Indian Hills Riverbend is within the established central area as illustrated in Wichita Places for People. The neighborhood is working toward making a place where residents have more opportunities to bicycle, to walk, or ride the bus to services. According to the Wichita Bicycle Maintenance Master Plan, the neighborhood is within Priority Bikeway Network. St. Paul is part of the long-term bikeway network. The lot abuts a residential area. St. Paul is a narrow street with no sidewalks except around commercial properties. Sidewalks are on 13th and on the west boundary of the subject property. There are no sidewalks further south of the property. Used vehicle sales will be a nuisance due to increased traffic, test driving, multiple auto engines running, auctions, tow truck deliveries, and other noise associated with the used car lot. The neighborhood does not want a used car lot. And a used car lot approximately 20 years ago was applied for in the neighborhood, and it was denied due to neighborhood protest. There are several used car lots within a 9-minute drive of our neighborhood. Some are even within 5-minute drive. It's a service we don't need. Thank you.
And thank you. Does there anyone else like to speak on this item? Last chance. Does anyone else like to speak on this item? Seeing none, the applicant, you do have an opportunity for rebuttal. Would you wish to do that? Okay, sir. Thank you. Commissioner Mader?
This is a neighborhood I'm very familiar with, spent a lot of time over there. It's not far from where I live. There's a lot good happening on that neighborhood right now. Some new construction, some changes of ownerships. And I just feel like introducing a used car lot in this neighborhood, especially against the wishes of the neighborhood association that's closest to it. I just think it'd be a real step backward for the area. I myself would be opposed to it, and I would hope you would support me in that. It just is not appropriate for this part of town, for West 13th in the neighborhood, in my opinion.
So is that in form of a motion?
I can do that. I would move that we deny this according to recommendations of staff.
Okay, is there any additional comments? Do we have a second? I will second that. Is there any additional motions or comments on this? Commissioner McKay?
Again, the fence was brought up. And do we know if there's a fence easement between these properties where the fence is at presently? If so, who is the owner of that fence? Somebody's got to be the owner. Somebody had to pay.
Yeah, we don't necessarily know that information off the top of our head here. But as we mentioned, regardless of who's the owner of the fence, even as the property is currently commercial, whether there's a car lot there or not, it is the onus of the commercial property to maintain a screening fence between them and residential zoning.
Okay, any additional questions or comments? Mr. Austin?
Just a quick point of clarification from staff. In the pictures, Mr. Etherly had shown that it had operated some vehicle equipment sales as a U-Haul, and the statement, the staff report said it was either non-conforming or illegal. Do we know which was really the case? Was it illegal or non-conforming?
My guess would be illegal. We find that often with U-Haul sales where they don't realize that falls under vehicle sales and vehicle equipment sales. And so the fact that they're not operating it today.
Okay.
I don't know if there was an enforcement action or not, but either way, it does not appear to be operating today.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, if there's no additional comments, you got additional?
No, I was going to make a substitute motion.
I had a quick question.
Yes, Commissioner Fry.
Just want to quickly follow up. Would U-Haul rental be classified as U-Haul sales?
A vehicle
Not
rental.
selling U-Hauls, they're renting them. Is that considered U-Haul sales?
Understood. Based on the definition in the zoning code, to rent vehicles falls under vehicle sales. That is correct.
Thank you.
Okay, any additional?
Yeah.
If not, Commissioner Austin?
Yeah, I'd like to make a substitute motion to approve or adopt the alternate findings, adopt the 8 conditions that staff recommended. I'd also like to add an additional condition that the applicant provides a restrictive covenant with the conditional use application that they will own and maintain a screening fence to the property to the south of at least 8 feet in height. And part of the reason why my motion is I'm very familiar with this neighborhood. I'm also very familiar in the past actions of this body in past similar cases for car lots that those have been approved. It was a convenience store, which is a very intense use. I appreciate the neighborhood's concerns about the traffic, but the C-store is a much more intensive use in terms of traffic in and out. So I don't find this to be a more intensive use. I find it to be a less intensive use.
Comment on the sales. I don't think there's ever been, that I'm aware of, from West Street to Meridian, ever a car sales in this neighborhood along 13th Street that I'm aware of. So.
Right, and just in reference to your comment, just familiarity, we, as a planning commission, approved like car sales in other locations. I think about West Central, east of Mays Road, where there was a former Quick Lube establishment that we approved as for car uses.
Okay, we have a motion. Is there for a substitute? Is there a second?
Second, with the one qualifying question, as it relates to the height of the fence at the driveway, is it particularly obstructed? Are you okay with that being, what was the term, tapered?
Yeah, I think they can coordinate with traffic engineering.
Second.
To establish that height.
Commissioner, I just want to verify, Jenna Morgan, City Legal. Did you suggest a restrictive covenant?
Correct. So as part of the conditional use application, a restrictive covenant, I guess it could be, well, I guess ask your question.
We generally suggest not to put a restrictive covenant in. That's not enforceable from this side. My guess would be that we could add in a separate, number 9 that indicates the owner must replace fence or maintain current fence.
Essentially, by adding it as a condition, as part of the conditional use, makes it enforceable from a zoning standard that if they were to fail to maintain that, it would be grounds for possible, it would be grounds for enforcement action. So I agree with legal on this, that making it a condition suffices.
Is the motion maker fine with that?
I'd like to keep my motion and then I'd like to visit with you probably offline separately because we do require covenants and other matters when we plat property, for instance. So I don't find the request for a restrictive covenant to be substantially different than other applications for other matters. We do ask for those.
Understood.
Okay, so are you good with making that change or are you gonna rescind your motion?
No, I'll keep my motion as is.
Okay. And, okay, so we have a motion, for the substitute motion to approve, where per comments made, by Commissioner Austin. We have a second by Commissioner Fry. Commissioner Mader, is there any additional comments you'd like to make?
A little bit of discussion. I have a question for the applicant, but is it too late to ask a question of the applicant at this
The
point?
applicant twice has refused to,
Has simply said they have nothing to say, but I have a question I'd like them to answer.
okay, if, does the applicant wish to come to the podium? Okay, sir, please state your name and your address for our records.
My name is Numan Khan, and our address is 2849 West 13th Street North.
Okay, thank you for coming to answer a question. As in the picture, there's U-Hauls here.
Yes.
We're told there's no U-Hauls today. Have you removed them?
So the
because of-
U-Haul, so the last owner used to do the U-Haul thing in this parking lot that is behind the convenience store. So what we were thinking is the U-Haul is like a whole mess, actually, like having like 10 or 15 trailers in the back. What we were thinking about to use that lot for like sell used cars, like 4 or 5 maximum cars. So that way the place can stay clean and not have like a lot of truck park in the back. Like actually we got an offer from U-Haul too. They said that the business was really good here, but we didn't consider the U-Haul for that location again.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, any additional comments, concerns? If not, I'm gonna make one quick comment. I just don't think that this is conducive for that neighborhood. I think it's gonna hurt that neighborhood. So those are just my comments on there. I'm sorry, Commissioner Johnson, do you have any comments? No, I'd just like to vote on it. Okay. All right, so we have a substitute motion. We will call the vote. All in favor of the substitute motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, what we're gonna wind up doing is doing a roll call. I think that might be a little better.
Yes, sir. That would certainly be a lot easier for staff. So this is on the substitute motion to approve. Aldrich?
No.
Zimbelman? No. Fry? Mader? No. McKay? No. Dool? No. Bill Johnson?
Yes.
High? Klontz? Warren? Joe Johnson?
No.
Austin? Williams Bay?
I'm sorry, Commissioner
Thiessen.
Williams, baby. Was it, no?
Sorry, Thiessen? Sir, I show that there were 4 votes to approve the motion and 10 against.
Thank you. Now we revert back to the original motion, for denial. All in favor of for the denial, for staff recommendations and comments signify as, well, we'll do a roll call again.
Sir, this is for denial. Aldrich?
Yes.
Zimbelman? Yes. Fry? Mader? Yes. McKay? Yes. Dool? Yes. Bill Johnson?
No.
High?
Yes.
Klontz? Warren?
No.
Joe Johnson? Austin? Williams Bay? Thiessen? Sir, I show that there are 9 that voted affirmative in favor of the motion and 5 opposed.
Thank you. The motion tonight has passed. Thank you. Now we will go to the Next agenda item, which would be 4.2, PUD 2026-00016. Samuel?
Good afternoon, Samuel Dietz, presenting planner. PUD 2026-00016 is a request for a zone change from LC Limited Commercial to PUD Planned Unit Development number 168 to create the V's Corner Planned Unit Development. Subject site is 0.26 acres and generally located at the northeast corner of South Dodge Avenue and West Maple Street. Property is primarily undeveloped, but does have a small commercial building at the southeast corner and a garage to the north. The applicant is requesting the zone change in order to allow a mix of residential and commercial uses and greater site design flexibility. PUD would also allow for tattooing and body piercing, which is currently not an allowed use on site. And all tattooing and body piercing facilities would be subject to the supplementary use regulations, which require a minimum of 200 feet separation from schools, parks, or residential zoning. The applicant is requesting that GC zoning uses be permitted within the PUD with some exemptions, in addition to the tattooing and body piercing. Property would also be exempt from the distance requirements of those supplementary use regulations. This is necessary given that the property is immediately south of SF5 single-family zoning. If the subject site were not within a PUD, a tattooing and body piercing facility would require a variance to be exempt from those regulations. The following GC uses would be prohibited: car wash, construction, sales and service, event center, kennel, marine facility, nightclub, recreational vehicle campground, rodeo, riding academy or stable, sexually oriented uses, vehicle and equipment sales, warehouse self-service storage, manufacturing, outdoor storage, vehicle storage yard, and welding and machine shop. The site is located within the Delano overlay and is currently subject to the regulations set forth in the neighborhood design guidelines, which provide design guidance for renovations and new construction. The applicant does propose residential and commercial uses, but no detailed designs have been provided at this time. Staff is recommending that the PUD text continue to require the site to conform to the Delano neighborhood design guidelines. The applicant's provisions for screening and lighting are in accordance with Section 4B of the Unified Zoning Code. However, screening would not be required for any residential uses. Light poles would be limited to a maximum height of 15 feet and would be shielded to direct light disbursement in a downward direction. The applicant proposes landscaping in accordance with CBD requirements, with the exception that no landscape buffers would be required and no parking lot screening would be required along South Dodge Avenue. Staff are recommending that landscape buffers be required due to the residential use to the north, as well as maintaining those requirements for parking lot screening, given that this is the beginning of a commercial district along West Maple Street. Under the landscape code, landscape street yard with parking lot screening is required along West Maple. The applicant would not be required to install landscape street yard per CBD requirements of the code. As far as compatibility standards are concerned, the applicant did propose to remove compatibility standards in the PUD language. However, staff are recommending that compatibility setbacks be maintained but reduced to a maximum of 10 feet. In addition, the compatibility height standard of 35 feet would be maintained, given that that would be the maximum allowed in the PUD. Setbacks for the development are proposed at 0 feet on the front, rear, and street side setbacks and 5 feet for the interior side setback to the north. Parking requirements are per the CBD Central Business District. Signage on the property is currently limited to the regulations in the Delano Neighborhood Design Guidelines, which limits portable signs, pole signs, and ground signs. Signs with flashing and moving elements and off-site signs would be prohibited. The PUD's sign standards allow for GC General Commercial District signage. Therefore, building signs would be subject to those regulations and limited to a total area of 20% of each building elevation. Staff are recommending that all signs, including window signs and canopies, must be approved per the Delano Neighborhood Design Guidelines. The character of the neighborhood is commercial on the arterial street and residential on local streets. Property to the north is SF5 and developed with a residential dwelling. Property to the south across West Maple is zoned B multifamily and is developed with an assisted living facility. Property to the east is zoned GC and is developed with a service station. Property to the west is zoned B and is developed with a medical office. All of these properties are also within the Delano overlay. The subject site was platted in 1886 as part of Lawrence's second edition, and in 1933, a variance was approved allowing for commercial use in the B district. The site does have access to West Maple Street, 4-lane arterial with sidewalks and no bicycle facilities, and South Dodge Avenue, a 2-way local street with sidewalks. The site does have access to municipal services and utilities, including sewer, water, and stormwater, and Wichita Transit serves the site at Seneca and West Maple. Requested zone changes in conformance with the Community Investments Plan, which identifies the site as appropriate for residential uses. The applicant is proposing residential and commercial mixed-use development, which is an appropriate fit within this category. The plan also includes locational guidelines, which provide a decision-making framework regarding land use changes. The development meets the development guideline 2A, which states that which is to encourage infill development that maximizes public investment in existing and planned infrastructure and services. And this would be met by allowing for infill development on a partially vacant property. Land use compatibility guideline 2A states that neighborhoods serving retail and office uses and high density residential uses can be appropriate along arterial streets on small infill sites near residential uses or through conversions of residential structures if appropriate site design features that limit traffic, noise, lighting, and adverse impacts on surrounding residential are provided and the scale of development is appropriate for its context. The PUD will allow for a mix of uses on the property that is located on an arterial. Design guideline 2B states that buildings are encouraged to be located close to the street with parking areas located beside or behind buildings. The applicant has proposed 0-foot setbacks along West Maple and South Dodge. In addition, staff have proposed that parking and access be located to the rear of the property. The proposed rezoning is also in conformance with the Wichita Places for People plan, which outlines strategies to guide the community in actions to create walkable places. Strategy 1 aims to create walkable destinations that support the various neighborhood environments in the ECA. The PUD will remove parking requirements to allow for a walkable mix of uses appropriate for the neighborhood. Strategy 3 aims to improve the economic feasibility of commercial and service uses and the markets necessary to support them. The PUD will allow for residential and commercial uses on a site currently zoned for residential. Strategy 6 aims to encourage infill and redevelopment that is contextual to the environment in which is occurring. And this PUD will allow for setbacks and parking standards contextual to the area. Places for People plan also identifies this district as a community core, serving the surrounding neighborhood. The staff recommended PUD language will improve the relationship between the building and the street as defined in this community core by restricting parking lots and access to the rear of the property and prohibiting incompatible uses. The proposed rezoning is also in conformance with the Delano neighborhood plan, which identifies the site as appropriate for commercial uses. As mentioned, this PUD will allow for commercial in addition to residential. Lastly, this is in conformance with the Unified Zoning Code purpose statement for the PUD, which will allow for a mix of commercial and residential uses and site design standards more compatible with the area. With that, we can go to the site photos. This is looking southeast into the site. This is looking north into the site. This is looking west into the site. This is looking north away from the site. This is looking west away from the site. This is looking south away from the site. And this is looking east away from the site. With that, staff have not received any public comments. We did receive a memo from the applicant with regards to the landscaping requirements and uses allowed, and that should have been emailed to you yesterday. Staff are recommending approval based on the conditions listed in your staff report. With that, I can stand for any questions.
Is there, yes, Commissioner Fry?
Thank you. Appreciate the report, Sam. What are the boundaries of the Delano neighborhood district?
I believe they extend west as far as Meridian.
If I could, it's Meridian out west. There we go. Well, it's the river, Kellogg, and Meridian, I believe.
Everything in yellow?
It's everything that's actually in color on that, not the gray.
Okay, thank you. And then as it relates to definitions, what do we mean by immediate vicinity? Is that a half a block, a mile, a section? What does immediate vicinity mean?
I think that too is a subjective term. It depends on what context we're using it in.
Thank you.
Any additional questions for staff? I've got a quick question. Do you know what any past histories of type of businesses that's been on this property?
I believe there was a liquor store there at one point for a number of years.
Okay, so why is staff recommending that that not be allowed now?
Well, in that case, I think it was a bit of an issue actually in the neighborhood, that liquor store that was operating there for some time.
Were they not in compliance or?
No, I think what was happening was there were a number of transient folks who were attracted to that location, and it was contributing to more of a transient issue that they had there.
Okay.
Now, that was not part of a police report or any information that we got. You were just asking a question. I'm sharing my understanding. But in terms of why we're recommending that alcohol not be permitted there, it's because it's not currently allowed. I may be wrong. I'm sorry, sir. I need to double check, but that is my recollection that there was a liquor store there, but it is zoned MF18, so I'm...
Okay.
Thank you very much. I'm just not sure why, if it's zoned MF18, that there was one there.
Okay. All right, thank you. The agent or applicant, please. Please state your name and address for our records, please, and you have 10 minutes.
Kim Edgington, PSC Consulting, Wichita, Kansas. I will try to address just the most immediate question there regarding the previous business. This location, I don't know, this building right here was the first liquor license that was issued in Sedgwick County following prohibition in January of 1934. So more than likely that predated any zoning, so it did eventually become a non-conforming use. This business operated as a retail liquor store for 92 years on this location, from 1934 until it became a COVID casualty in 2020. So we have submitted to you a request in the form of a memo that the language that staff recommended be amended under item 4B to allow retail liquor sales given the historical use of this property. So otherwise, we are in almost complete agreement with what staff has recommended, which would include adding the landscape buffers provided per the agreement with staff, the compatibility standards that staff recommended. The other single item that we addressed in our memo related to item 11 under landscaping, which was a request to retain the final sentence of that category where parking lot screening would not be required along Dodge. If we could go back, there was a photo looking towards the west. There is a building there immediately to the west of this property. And so any parking lot screening would simply be screening towards a building that has no windows, no visibility to this property. And staff has also asked in a previous category, number 5, that no parking should be located within 20 feet of that west property line. So if staff has already asked for any parking to be moved farther to the east, we find that that's kind of there's some duplicity there as far as moving parking, but also screening. So we are asking that the parking lot screening be waived for along Dodge Avenue. Otherwise, we are in complete agreement with staff's recommendations, minus the 2 items that were submitted to you via email memo, and I would be glad to stand for any questions.
And thank you. Is there any questions for the agent, for the applicant?
Yeah.
Commissioner Joe Johnson?
Why wouldn't liquor sales been allowed because it preceded zoning?
Because of the proximity of residential zoning, correct? Well, and it's MF 18 zoning.
Yes, I think Commissioner Joe Johnson, I think what you're getting at is how could there be alcohol sales there that were prohibited even though there was a store there? At times when rezonings take place, sometimes neighborhood wide and sometimes property by property, it is entirely possible for the zoning be placed on a property that makes it a non-conforming use. So it sounds like that's probably what had been happening for quite some time, decades, is that they were operating as a non-conforming use and the zoning had changed at some point.
And I might just add that this property, my client is a 3rd generation owner of this property. It has been in this same family since the property was platted in the 1800s. So it was the current owner's great uncle that opened that retail liquor store in 1934 on this site.
Any additional questions? If not, we will open it up to the general public. If there's anyone that would like to speak on this item, please come to the podium, state your name and your address for our records. Last call.
Hello, my name is Vince Hancock, 406 South Line, Wichita, Kansas. I'm the president of the Delano Neighborhood Association. I speak primarily on behalf of the neighbors in the area. This property, as she mentioned, has been abandoned since the pandemic, and it absolutely fulfills all the requirements of the Delano Neighborhood Plan to have some infill in what is partially a vacant lot and partially a very small square footage building. To be blunt, I'm not sure how they managed to make it work before the pandemic because it was a tiny place, but they made it work. And I don't always feel that it's the property owner's responsibility if transients surround their property. If they're not putting out signs that says, hey, come by here, that's not always their fault. So I'm willing to go a long way on that. To the more recent point, before I get to the points raised in the staff report, I used to work for a local television station, and we interviewed several local tattoo artists. And one of the gals impressed me so much. She says, if someone walks into my tattoo parlor drunk, I will not serve them because they may not be making great decisions. And I don't want my art to have to be then removed later because they got a drunk tattoo. So I do kind of wonder if it makes sense to have alcohol sales and tattoo in the same place. That being said, there's already been a couple of things brought up about the staff report's insufficiency on the case history. Basically, it says, okay, after 1933, we don't know what happened to the case. If nothing else, staff should have been able to research what year did it become MF18. We don't have that. Staff just didn't do the research. And even without the applicant's information, it would have been pretty easy to find out through Google Street View that there were signs on the door. One of them just a couple years before the pandemic even shows someone exiting the door as the Google car drove by. So it was pretty obvious that this was a business up through 2019, 2020, and that it wasn't. So the staff report just kind of missed some things in there. I do believe that it's impossible for this body to do their job when the applicant proposes landscaping in concordance. We have no site plan. How can we know what the applicant's going to do with landscaping when there's no even just a pencil sketch on a napkin of the outline of the building, the outline of the parking lot, and the outline of the landscaping? When there's a requirement in this staff report for landscaping and it's not mentioned, there's no way for you to know what they're going to do on landscaping. And last but not least, and this one is the most important in my last 30 seconds, on page 5 of the staff report, it says the PUD will allow setbacks and parking standards that are contextual to the area. That is incorrect. On behalf of the Neighborhood Association, please do not allow this to have any element of Central Business District. In Delano, Central Business District is for Seneca and it is for Douglas. This is asking for Central Business District, which allows 0 setback and no parking requirements, to be on a street that is a snow emergency route. It is illegal to park on Maple. If this applicant puts diagonal stripes on Maple, they're going to get hit by snowplowers. It's
Sir, your
inappropriate.
time has ran out.
Remove
Thank
the
you for
PUD,
your
please.
comments. Is there anyone else from the audience that'd like to speak on this? Seeing none, we will go back to the agent for the applicant for rebuttal. You have 2 minutes.
Kim Edgington, PSC Consulting for the record. To these points, the landscape plan will be required as part of the building permit process if there is any additional development on this site. So that is something that will be reviewed and approved by the city. There can't be any parking along Maple. The only entity that could institute that would be the city of Wichita. That is city right of way. So this facility could not do that legally and has no intention to. The tattoo facility that is in here right now does operate on an appointment only basis. It is not open to the public. If any of us were to walk up to their door right now, it would be locked and we would not be able to gain entry. Only if you were already scheduled and on their books would you be allowed to enter the facility. So given those conditions, I would stand for any more questions that you may have.
Any additional questions for the applicant? Seeing none, thank you.
Thank you.
We will bring it back to the commission for comments. Commissioner McKay?
We talk about how it became from non-conforming to MF18. And what year was it that the original Delano Township was put together?
Original, the township, I'm
Well,
not
no,
sure,
the
sir.
the Delano plan that was started 25 years ago.
Oh, sir, I believe that was back around 2003, maybe 2001.
Well,
somewhere
all I
around
know
there.
is I own some property in this area, and they sent a letter out to all the landowners because the majority of this property was Zone B. They sent out a letter to all the landowners. If you want to change it, then you must get with the city to do so. And that may be how it got from non-conforming to MF18.
Okay, thank you.
Any additional comments? If not, does any of the commissioners like to make a motion? If not, I'll make a motion that we approve per staff recommendations and comments, with also the exceptions on number 4 to allow retail liquor sales, and also item number 11 on landscaping that we discussed, to allow the landscaping buffers defined by the City of Wichita Landscape Code that shall not be required, and the parking lot screening that should not be required along Douglas. Dodge, excuse me. Couldn't read my own.
Second.
I'll second that.
And Commissioner Maynard, did you second? Okay, so we have a motion by Commissioner Aldrich, second by Commissioner Maynard. All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. All opposed, same sign. And the motion passed. Next agenda item is 4.3 PUD 2026-00017 in the city. Brad.
Yes, once again, Brad Etherly, MAPD, discussing case PUD 2026-00017. For this case, the applicant is requesting a zone change from SF5 Single Family Residential to PUD to create the Central Point Planned Unit Development, which would be PUD number 169. The applicant is proposing to allow all uses permitted by right in the GO General Office District with additional other uses. The subject site is 3.98 acres in size and is located south of Central Avenue North and in between North Crestline Avenue and North Valley View Drive at 10025 West Central Avenue. The site is currently developed with a vacant church, and the applicant is requesting the zone change to create a zoning district with unique development standards. According to the PUD language submitted by the applicant, the site would consist of one parcel. Access to the site would be from North Crestview Avenue and North Valley View Avenue, with all curb cuts already existing. The proposed language states that the PUD would be restricted to all uses permitted by right in the GO district, along with personal care service, personal improvement service, and recreation and entertainment indoor. Manufacturing limited is proposed to be permitted, but restricted to only for the use of commercial kitchen to prepare food and beverages. Event center in the city is proposed to be a permitted use, subject to the supplementary use regulations in section 3D6W of the Unified Zoning Code, provided that the 300-foot distance requirement from residential zoning is waived. The applicants are proposing that events associated with the event center shall cease operations by 10 o'clock p.m. Sunday through Thursday and 12 o'clock midnight on Friday and Saturday. It is proposed that any outdoor event associated with the event center would cease by 10 p.m. regardless of the day. It is also proposed the event center would be allowed to serve alcohol. Staff does recommend that entertainment establishment in the city be added as a permitted use in the case that the event would like to have entertainment as well. And staff recommends that the entertainment establishment be accessory to an event center. The staff also recommends restricting hotel motel use on the site. And the current zoning of GO would permit all types of residential development, including single family, duplex, and multifamily residential at 75.1 dwelling units per acre. The proposed street side setbacks matches the platted setback for the property, and staff recommends that the rear setback match the maximum compatibility setback set forth in the UZC of 25 feet. Other development standards deviating from the current SF5 zoning district are proposed in the table in the report. As far as parking, the proposed PUD does not address parking. Staff recommends that the PUD includes language that parking shall be in conformance with section 4A.4 of the UZC for all uses. The parking requirement for an entertainment establishment is 1 parking space per 2 occupants, and the site would have to provide sufficient parking for all uses that would be established on the site. As far as screening and landscaping is proposed to be provided per the Wichita Landscape Code, with existing trees included in calculating the requirements. The proposed language states that the existing planting strips along the North Crestline Avenue, West Central Avenue, and North Valley View Avenue shall be maintained and count towards the screening requirements of the UZC. Along the north 435 feet of North Crestline Avenue, there are 11 existing trees. There is 1 existing tree along the south 142 feet of North Crestline Avenue. Along the north 455 feet of Valley View Avenue, there are 14 existing trees, with 1 on the south 125 feet of Valley View. The proposed language also states that no fencing and/or screening is required along the northern, eastern, and western property lines of Parcel 1. This is standard per the UZC and the Wichita Landscape Code. The required landscape street yard along the street frontages act in lieu of a screening fence. It is proposed that a screening fence or existing trees shall be provided along the southern line of parcel 1. The applicants propose that said landscaping and or screening fence shall be required at the time of a new building permit. Within the southern 100 feet of parcel 1, staff recommends that solid screening along the south property line be standard per the UCC, which would require additional evergreen trees to be planted in order to make a solid screen or install a screening fence. And we also recommend that screening along that south property line occur prior to the issuance of any certificate of occupancy for the site instead of with a building permit. As far as compatibility, staff recommends that the PUD language include a requirement of compatibility height standards per the UZC. This requires that no structure shall exceed 35 feet in height within 50 feet of the lot line of property zone TF3 or more restrictive. Structures located more than 50 feet from the lot line of property zone TF3 or more restrictive may increase at a ratio of 1 foot in height for each 3 feet of setback beyond 50 feet. Signs are proposed to be permitted in accordance with the Wichita Sign Code for the GO District. Lighting is not referenced in the proposed language. Staff recommends that lighting shall adhere to the standards of Section 4B4 of the Unified Zoning Code. This requires that all lights be cut off luminaries that are directed down and away from property lines, and all light poles are restricted to 15 feet in height within 200 feet of residential zoning. As far as context, the character of the neighborhood is mostly residential in nature with some commercial nearby. Properties to the north across West Central Avenue are zoned SF5 and are developed with single-family dwellings. Properties to the east across North Valley View Avenue are zoned SF5 and are developed with single-family dwellings. Properties south of the subject site are zoned SF5 and are developed with single-family dwellings. And properties to the west across North Crestline Avenue are zoned GO and SF5 and are developed with an office building and single-family dwellings. The site was platted in 1955 as part of the Westlink Village 4th Edition, and there are no other zoning cases associated with the property. Property does have direct access to North Crestline Avenue and North Valley View Avenue, both of which are 2-lane local streets with no sidewalks on either side. Wichita Transit does not serve the site, with closest stop being just under a mile away. All municipal services do serve the site. If we can go to the future growth map, the zone change is in conformance with the community investments plan. The future growth map recommends the subject site is appropriate for commercial. Commercial is defined as areas that reflect the full diversity of commercial development intensities and types typically found in a large urban municipality. And the uses that are proposed are appropriate for the site. The proposed PUD language, along with the conditions of approval, are designed to mitigate any potential negative effects. As far as the compatibility guidelines, the heading Land Use Compatibility Guideline 2A states that neighborhoods serving retail and office uses and high-density residential uses can be appropriate along arterial streets, on small infill sites near residential uses, or through conversions of residential structures if appropriate site design features that limit traffic, noise, lighting, and adverse impacts on surrounding residential are provided and the scale of the development is appropriate for its context. Property is located on an arterial roadway and was in use as a church as recently as this year and would have been permitted to perform many of the proposed uses. The required screening and landscaping along with proposed staff recommended PU text should mitigate any potential negative effects. The request is in conformance with the Unified Zoning Code purpose statement for the PUD district, which states that the PUD zoning district is a special purpose zoning district that is intended to encourage innovative land planning and design and avoid the monotony sometimes associated with large developments by reducing or eliminating the inflexibility that sometimes results from strict application of zoning standards that were designed primarily for individual lots, allowing greater freedom in selecting the means to provide access, light, open space, and design amenities, promoting quality urban design and environmentally sensitive development by allowing development to take advantage of special site characteristics, locations, and land uses, and allowing deviations from certain zoning standards that would otherwise apply if not contrary to the general spirit and intent of this code. So the proposed zone change would allow for uses that likely would have been permitted on the property had the use remained as a church or a place of worship. The proposed PUD also provides an opportunity for redevelopment with tailored regulations to promote compatible land uses. So if we can go to the site plan or the site pics. This is looking south into the site from Central. Next picture. This is looking west into the site from Valley View. Next picture. This is looking north into the site. Next picture. This is looking east into the site from Crestline. Next picture. This is looking north away from the site. Next picture. This is looking east away from the site from kind of the north half of the property. Next picture. This is looking east away from the southern half of the property. Next picture. Looking south away from the site. Next picture. This is looking west away from the southern portion of the site. Next picture. And this is looking west from the northern half of the site. So staff does recommend approval of the application subject to the staff recommended provisions of the planned unit development and subject to the conditions listed in the staff report. These are based on the golden factors. We have had several public comments that should have been emailed to you yesterday. I've also placed additional comments in front of you. And I will say that it looks like that in the PUD language, restricting hotel motel from the site was not included. So that's something that we would want to make sure was included in the language from you guys, if you agree with that. And that's just a staff note there. And with that, I can stand for any questions.
Brad, thank you. Commissioner Fry?
Thank you. Brad, appreciate the presentation. As it relates to parking space definition, does that mean paved?
Yes.
And looking at the site plan, I count about 125 spaces. Would you concur?
I didn't go out there and count every space.
Well, just looking at that image, counting them, it looks like about 114, 110 regular and 14 disabled spaces, but roughly. All right, thank you.
Any additional questions for staff? Seeing none, agent or applicant, please. Sir, please state your name and address, and you have 10 minutes.
Good afternoon. My name is Thomas Joyce, agent for the applicant with Boffin Company. Our address is 315 South Ellis in Wichita, Kansas, 67211. With me today is the applicant, Garrett Chastain, one of the owners of the new building here. Going back to what Brad said right there at the end, we are in agreement with staff comments, even reducing and eliminating the hotel motel use. We agree with that. So just to speak a little bit about this, this has been, the Westlink Church of Christ since about 1960. My client has purchased the building looking with the goal of redeveloping the existing building into office space that would allow uses such as insurance, real estate, investment, law offices, architecture, engineering, kind of smaller office uses that would need the occasional conference room, but mostly would be fairly small. We also want to take advantage of what the existing facility offers, including the large gathering space of the church. It's got some nice overhead beams that, they look nice. And so, some gathering space in there with a wedding or a family celebration, like the church has been doing all those times. We want to be able to continue that.
There's also an existing gymnasium that's in good shape. Got some nice basketball goals in there. And there's a need in the community to provide space for youth basketball teams or volleyball teams, spaces to practice, during the evenings. And so we'd like to offer that space to them. The final thing about the kitchen, with being the church, have the church potlucks. And so they've got a really nice kitchen in there. And we want to be able to offer that up to small, food trucks or small catering events where the food's not going to be served on site necessarily. It's going to be prepped there in the kitchen and then loaded out to be served throughout the community or kind of wherever that needs to happen. But want to be able to utilize that space as the need arises. Again, redeveloping the existing church, we want to do a lot of the things that the church already been doing over the last several decades, and be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for their, yes, Commissioner Fry?
Thank you. Appreciate Thomas, thank you.
I was Tom in college. That was a different age.
All right. Could you talk about the request for the entertainment establishment and the alcohol sales?
The entertainment establishment, just simply, having the wedding there, want to be able to offer kind of a one-stop shop and be able to do the reception as well. And so in talking with staff, having the music or the DJ come in, that is where that falls into the entertainment establishment.
Yes, Commissioner Zimmerman.
The kitchen, why would you not want to use the kitchen as part of a wedding event or something like that? Why is it just going out?
We would like to use it. I don't think those are two separate things. I think that'd be considered a use of the event center within the same building. It's all confined.
Okay, kitchens and churches and everywhere are regulated, so I just wondered if you were trying to get around
No.
the indoor stuff and just going to the outside.
Any additional questions? Please. Director Witt, I got a question relating to a comment that the applicant made regarding using having a catering service type setup. Would that be allowed?
Yeah, they reached out before they submitted the application with their desire to have the commercial kitchen used for a catering service or to prep food for a food truck or something like that. And we brought it to the zoning administrator to understand where that falls in the zoning code. And that's where the manufacturing limited comes in. And that's why the language is further tailored to say that that type of use is only limited to the preparation of food and drink, so that you don't allow all the other uses that could fall under manufacturing limited. But per the zoning administrator, a catering kitchen is considered manufacturing limited.
Okay, Philip, thank you, sir. Thank you. Any additional questions or comments for the agent, for the applicant? Seeing none. Is there anyone from the public that would like to speak? Please come to the podium, state your name and your address for our records. You have 3 minutes.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. My name is Teresa Veazey, and I have lived at 531 North Pamela Avenue for almost 30 years. Thank you for the opportunity to speak to you today. I'm a resident of the neighborhood surrounding this property at 10025 West Central Avenue, and I am here to respectfully urge you to deny PUD 2026-00017. I called and spoke with the applicant, Garrett Chastain, about my concerns. During our 9-minute phone conversation, Garrett argued the property's former use as a church, hosting weddings, funerals, and worship services, is functionally equivalent to the proposed event center use, and therefore this rezoning represents no real change to the neighborhood. I completely disagree, respectfully, and I ask the Commission to consider the following distinctions. While a place of worship hosts events, the frequency, purpose, and character of that use bear little resemblance to what he has proposed. A congregation's gatherings are tied to a single organization's calendar, largely Sunday mornings and occasional life events. This would be a for-profit venue that must book paying clients constantly to remain financially viable. The proposed PUD would permit alcohol. The church never served alcohol on site. This introduces an entirely new category of traffic safety, noise, and public safety impacts that did not previously exist at this location. The proposed hours until 10 p.m. weeknights and school nights and midnight Fridays and Saturdays extend well past what a church's evening activities would typically involve. The entertainment use established raises the likelihood of amplified sound, like from a thrash metal band, that a worship service would not generate at comparable scale. Garrett told me he plans to only have 30 or 40 events a year, but I reminded him that zoning changes don't move with the applicant, they remain with the property. Another operator could easily book events 365 nights a year. The UZC requires a 300-foot separation between an event center and residential zoning specifically because of the traffic, noise, and lighting impacts this use can generate. The applicant is asking you to waive that requirement entirely. Please do not. This is not a minor technicality. It is the standard protection the code itself identifies as necessary because this site is surrounded on 3 sides with single-family homes, and if you look directly across Central to the north, more single-family homes. Neither Crestline nor Valley View have sidewalks. Event-driven traffic concentrated around nightly events, plus attendees, often in groups and many times intoxicated, will share the street late into the night, into the dark, decreasing neighborhood safety. The applicant's PUD language does not specify a parking count. How can the applicant demonstrate adequate on-site capacity? Without use-specific parking projections, event parking overflow will spill onto our residential streets.
Ma'am,
For
I'm
these
sorry I have to interrupt you. Your time has ran out.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Much appreciated. Thank you for your comments.
I have a question.
Is there anyone else that would like to?
I
Yes.
have a question for the.
Ma'am, can you come back to the podium, please?
Using the mouse, can you show us where you live in relation to the property?
I can't. When Brad cropped the GIS, my house is down over here.
Ma'am, we need you to use the mouse, but we got the message.
Okay,
So,
yeah. No,
Thank you.
You're welcome.
thank you. Next speaker, is there anybody else like to speak on this matter? Okay, if so, please come to the podium and state your name and your address for our records. And you
Thank
have
you.
3 minutes.
My name is Rebecca Wilkinson, and if you look at the screen, I live right here. I can step out my door, my front door, and I can look at this establishment and see everything that's going on. So it's going to affect me and my family, where I've lived for 28 years. I've raised my 2 kids here. I'm retired. I am shocked that it's so close to Peterson Elementary, which is right here. And then also over here is Buffalo Park. There are t-ball games, soccer games, all kinds of activities that happen in Buffalo Park. If you need a gymnasium, you can go right over here to Peterson Elementary, or you can go to all the way down to Tyler and go to Wilbur Middle School. So him saying that they can use this gymnasium for peewee basketball or whatever you want to call it, it's not founded. I agree with the woman that just spoke. It's going to cause a lot of traffic. We already have a lot of traffic because people cut through whenever there's construction right here at Central and Mays. So we constantly have traffic cutting through and going through and around. This is not going to benefit anyone that lives in this area. So I don't understand why you are allowing this to move forward. I just drove right past this area right here, and they're continuing construction for having a little patio area. So this is going to affect the building right here or the homes right here off of Taylor and over on Valley View. They're going to be affected by this every night. 10 p.m. is not a sufficient time to cut things off because people will stay in the parking lot. They'll continue to drink. There's a liquor store right over here that they can just cross the street and go over and buy some more liquor if they want to, or they can just buy liquor. They can go down the street to Buffalo Park and continue whatever they have going on at this establishment. I am hoping that you guys vote against this. I've lived here for 28 years. It's a nice, quiet neighborhood. It's a school neighborhood. It is not for an entertainment facility. I thank you for your time.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that'd like to speak on this item? If so, please come to the podium and state your name and your address. And sir? Whose name was that?
The planning director. I couldn't read it from where I was sitting.
Oh.
My name is Jared Kruger, and I live at 652 North Valley View. I live right here on the corner. I will be the last house that all the people that leave the venue will be sitting at in front of my house, in front of my home. Not to pat myself on the back, but I retired from the military with 36 years service 20 months ago. I defended my country proudly. I feel like I'm now defending my neighborhood. I had to come out of retirement to do this. We've lived there also 28 years, and ma'am, you were amazing. You took all my thunder.
Sir, I need you to direct your comments.
Okay, sorry. To the planning director, earlier when we talked about the other event, the other place, you actually said, why are we allowing liquor sales where there has not been liquor sales? That was a quote from you. I appreciate that. That is what we were asking for. We don't want liquor sales here. We know what that brings to our neighborhood. If any of you have driven to this property lately, and I wish you would have, especially at night, if you look at the 3 or the 4 driveways that come out of there, the headlights of cars will be directly at the front windows of all these neighbors. They're gonna have cars turning out of there every night, Fridays, Saturdays, Sundays, when they're trying to relax, raise their family. If you come during the evenings, you're gonna see me outside. You're gonna see Nolan and his kids outside and their dog. You're gonna see Doug over here outside in his porch drinking coffee all day, all night. How he does it, I don't know. You're gonna see Mariah out with her kids out in the front yard. You're going to see Alan fixing his trucks, working on his trucks in his driveway, in his garage all the time. This is a family neighborhood. Believe it or not, parents still walk their children to school through our neighborhood. It's kind of cool to see. And at night, we gather in the front yards and talk to each other. I have the keys or garage codes to 4 of people in my neighborhood. I get 4 of their houses. Why? They may get stuck at work. They may get stuck in an accident. Hey, Jared, go let my dog out. Hey, can you watch my house? I'm on vacation. We don't have a neighborhood Facebook. We don't have a neighborhood chat. We have each individual's phone numbers. This is a family place. We have no problem with small businesses moving in. We do not want a party place. Yes, in the terms of the city, it's an entertainment establishment, but call it what it is. It's a party place. We don't want it. We don't need it. The last thing I'd like to say to the committee, this is not about this at all, but I wish you would quit the requirement of putting your address when we speak. I'm a cybersecurity expert. That's what we did in the military the last 10 years. We're live on YouTube, correct? I'm standing here giving my address. If a nefarious person was at home watching this live, they now know I am not home. I wish the city and the board would actually take that requirement out. We can give it to somebody else, but please stop having people voice their address on live YouTube or TV when they speak. It's not safe. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir, for your comments. Does anybody else like to speak on this item? Please come to the podium. And per our procedure, state your name and your address for our records, please.
Sure. My name is Chris Cole. I'm actually here on behalf of my mother, Helen Cole, who lives at 648 Valley View. It's this house right here, second one from the corner, straight across from the front doors of what has been a church all of my life. My parents lived in this house when I was born, and I'm 57. My mother still lives there. The comments by the applicant or on behalf of the applicant suggested that it's kind of like a church, has a wedding, they can have the reception there as well. Well, I can tell you that in the 57 years I've been alive, and either I or my parents have lived there, that's not the kind of things that happened at this church. Things didn't go till midnight. And if it was a church event, they were church events. They were quiet, and they were typically one evening a week, weekends, not late at night. So to suggest that this kind of is just an extension of the activities that were already occurring there is simply not an accurate representation of what's going on. Nobody ran a commercial kitchen out of this property. Nobody had law offices or financial offices or massage offices or whatever is being proposed here run out of this kind of a business. And it is surrounded by single family residential homes. The suggestion being made here in terms of the use as an entertainment district or an entertainment center is absolutely inconsistent with the intense residential neighborhood. And I understand the report from the planning committee said that we permit that in some occasions along arterial roadways, that there can be some commercial uses along with these intense residential neighborhoods. But it talked about that. I think that fundamental concept is on a much smaller scale. A small office or a past single-family residence that's been converted to something else in the way of a small office. It does not contemplate a 4-acre complex that becomes an entertainment center. On behalf of my mother, who still lives there, and the rest of the neighborhood, I would ask that the application be denied.
Sir, thank you for your comments. Much appreciated. Is there anyone else who'd like to speak on this item? Sir, please go to the podium, state your name and your address for our records.
My name's Jay Holstead. My address is 10317 East 71st. I think there's some miscommunication here. The events that they're talking about here aren't going to be thrash metal bands and street racing and all kinds of stuff that's going on outside. These are going to be indoor family events. These are going to be weddings. These are going to be funerals. These are going to be birthday parties. This isn't some nightclub that they're trying to build over here. That's why they were instilling the curfew and agreeing to that. So all of this talk about all of the noise and things that are going to go on, 99% of these events are going to be on the inside of the building. There's going to be sound barriers there in the form of all of the trees that are being planted, fences that are being put up, all of that stuff. So they've kind of covered the bases on all that stuff, but the items that are being brought up, I think, are misconstruing what's actually going to be happening here. The only outdoor events that are planned at this place are like trunk or treats and things that are going to be happening during the day for the community. As for alcohol sales, there aren't going to be alcohol sales. It's just wedding venues, when there's receptions, typically have alcohol at them. It's just a thing. It is what it is. But no, they're not going to be directly selling alcohol out of this place. It's not going to be a bar. It's not going to be a club. It's just a family event center to have weddings. So I just wanted to get that out in the open, that all of this concern about that stuff is alleviated.
Yes, sir. Hold on to 1 second. Commissioner Fry, do you have a question?
Yes, sir. What's your relationship to the applicant or agent? Are you either one?
Am I the applicant or the agent?
Yes.
No, just a member of the community.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Williams Bay?
Sir, are you aware if there is a homeowners association, and if so, have you had any communications with them before you came here?
I'm not sure if the owner or agent has. I have not.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any additional questions? Seeing none, sir, thank you for your comments.
Yeah.
Is there anyone else who would like to speak on this matter? Is there anyone else who'd like to speak on this matter? If so, come to the podium and your name and address for our records, please. And you have 3 minutes.
Good afternoon. My name is Douglas Jones. I live at 600 North Crestline. My property is directly adjacent to the proposed Central Point development, and I'm here to strongly oppose the rezoning request for PUD 2026-00017. While we understand the vacant church needs a new purpose, this proposal forces intense commercial activity into a quiet SF5 residential neighborhood. My first major concern is the proposed event center. The applicant wants you to waive the standard 300-foot residential buffer so they can host events until midnight on weekends. To understand the noise impact this will have, we only have to look at Rolling Hills Country Club. On a warm summer evening, I can sit on my patio. Rolling Hills is over 4,000 feet away from my house, and I can hear the event. This is in my backyard. So even if it is indoors, I'm still going to be able to hear it. Furthermore, the PUD has no restrictions on how early events can begin. Because, let me back up. Yet, the property lines of the 300-foot buffer, that waiver has no restrictions on how early events can begin. Because alcohol is permitted on site, the zoning legally allows day drinking events and loud afternoon festivals just feet from my property lines, disrupting the community all day long. Second, this creates a massive safety hazard. The staff report acknowledges Crestline is a 2-lane street with no sidewalks. Our neighborhood is anchored by Buffalo Park, just a block away. Families and children consistently walk these streets, funneling hundreds of venue guests, many of whom will be consuming alcohol on the local residential streets with 0 sidewalks is a disaster waiting to happen. Commission is already aware of the severe impact these venues have. We've seen strong neighborhood pushback against similar venues on streets like Volusia. When the city approves venues near neighborhoods, like on South Washington, they have to impose strict conditions just to manage the inevitable noise and traffic and security issues. We should not have to rely on constant policing to protect the peace of our homes. Finally, zoning runs with the land. Approving this means any future owner can operate an active entertainment venue and build towering 60-foot structures looming over our backyards. No one wants us to buy a single-family home next to a midnight event center, and the permanent threat will undeniably tank our property values. I urge you to prioritize the families who have invested in this community. Please deny this request. And one question: if this was your parents' house or your house or your grandkids, would you want this in your neighborhood? Because what they're asking is not necessarily what would prevail.
Okay, sir, appreciate your comments. Your time has ran out. Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to speak on this matter? If so, please come to the podium, state your name and address. This will be the last call. Is there anyone that additionally want to speak on this item? Okay, you just barely made it.
Yeah, that's my life story.
Please state your name and address for our
All
record.
right, my name is Rex Benton. I live at 1318 North Sunset Court, but my granddaughter and her family live at 609 North Crestline, which is right about, I'm looking sideways. Well, anyways, right across the street from the exit here. Wrong way, this way, right there they are. Okay, and through the time she's lived there, I've noticed that when the church was there, and like everybody says, it's a church and everything goes good. But like everybody says, there's no sidewalks, and Buffalo Park is very, very busy. Matter of fact, the parking lot's too small probably for Buffalo Park right now when they get everything going on there. So my thing I want to ask is, why was the 300-foot separation requirement wavered? Why was that done? And also about liquor on site in the parking lot. I've been to a lot of weddings, and actually, when you go to a wedding, there's two things going on at a wedding. There's the inside party, there's a parking lot party. And the parking lot party don't always go as calm as the inside one does, So I'm thinking that even though they got to be done at midnight and there's no liquor on their liquors on, like I said, they can walk across the street to the liquor store, get more liquor. So the other thing is, like, would anybody in here like to have this across the street from their home in their neighborhood, where their family, they walk, they do things, they go to school? My great-grandson goes to Peterson Elementary, and we walk there, like everybody said. It's a neighborhood. If I don't mind the office buildings, and stuff, they close down at 5 o'clock or something like that. There's on one end of the north end of that across from the church, there's already some offices there, but we have no problem with that. And as far as getting swashbuckling drunk at a wedding, that's probably might not happen, but it only takes one person getting run over for some family to be hurt for the rest of their life. That's it.
Sir, thank you for your comments. Again, is there anyone else that'd like to speak on this item? Sir, you have 3 minutes. Please state your name and your address for our records.
My name is Thomas Smith, and I live at 700 North Valley View Street, which is right here. I'll be real quick. I would like to oppose this zone change for the reasons previously stated by my neighbors. I'm fairly new to the neighborhood, and I think it would be a huge disappointment if this gets passed. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Much appreciated. Is there anyone else that'd like to speak on this matter? Saying none, I will bring it back to the applicant, for the agent for the applicant for rebuttal. Sir, you have 2 minutes.
I believe kind of heard a couple of different concerns, and just to kind of summarize, and then I'll stand for questions. Traffic and noise. And traffic, we're along Central. It's an arterial, and looking to get folks off of the local streets and onto Central as safely as possible. Noise, we again agree with the staff comments to do the screening. We are going to do some large evergreen trees along the south there to help both accomplish the screening, but then also those large trees will help with the noise. And again, the concern about the frequency events and the metal concerts, and I've been to some pretty loud church conferences or church concerts, so that may be a little bit different definition, but yeah, we're looking to do 30 to 40 events, not all 365 days a year. So I think that concern may be a little bit overdone. But with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Commissioner McKay?
Sir, how far is Peterson School from this location?
I believe Peterson School is here on the map, if I had to guess. Three blocks is what the audience is saying.
Thank you.
Any additional? Yes, Commissioner Mader?
Yes, in regard to everything going on here, none of it really concerns me that much, other than all the traffic drops out just like the church did on the side streets.
Yep.
And this is probably staff and applicant. Would it make any sense? Would it be more palatable to the neighborhood if the entrance was moved to Central onto the arterial and off those neighborhood streets?
That's a good question. Really, that's a question probably for Mike Armour with the city traffic engineering department. The city has their access management policy. I could see a potential with an opening there not meeting their access management policy.
Thomas, still my thunder.
It's a full block between them. I'd have a hard time thinking you couldn't get an approach, but then again, who knows? That would be my big problem with this, is that all the traffic is dumping onto the residential streets.
Commissioner Austin?
Thomas, did you say earlier whether you guys had, you and the applicant, have you had a meeting with the neighbors to talk about their concerns?
We have drafted a letter which you guys should have received, and the applicant passed out to neighbors yesterday. So he said he met with several folks and had some conversations through that.
So the simple answer is no? You haven't met with them yet?
Meetings, as a large group, no, but one-on-one as we pass out letters.
Thank you.
Any additional questions for the applicant? Seeing none, sir, thank you. We will, Director Waito, do you have a question or a statement?
Not a question, just a statement. I just wanted to clarify for folks in the audience and folks on the commission also that there's been mention of a 300-foot prohibition on event centers being adjacent to residential. I just wanted to clarify with folks that in the Unified Zoning Code, it's actually not a prohibition. What it does is if an event center is within 300 feet of a church, public park, or residential zoning or school, then a conditional use is required. So in instances where it would normally be permitted by right, if it's within 300 feet of those uses, then it's required to get a conditional use in order to be permitted.
Thank you, Commissioner Mader.
Since we're hearing that they've not yet met with the neighborhood, and I can't see myself agreeing with this, with that access onto those neighborhood streets, I'd sure like to ask the applicant if they could take some time and meet with the neighborhood and look into maybe improving the access.
Commissioner Fry?
Thank you. Well, I can appreciate the comparison of a church to an event center. I find it difficult to justify an entertainment establishment with alcohol smack dab in the middle of an established neighborhood. So with that, I make a motion to deny the application.
I would second that. Commissioner Williams, do you have comment? Any other commissioners have any comments on this? If,
Yeah, I have a
yeah, Commissioner Joe Johnson.
I think traffic is always a concern, but when a church service gets out, everybody sort of leaves at once. When a wedding gets out and a reception afterwards, it's kind of a trickle out. And I don't think the two are comparable.
Commissioner Austin?
Yeah, I have a little bit of difficulty as well with some of the uses, but I feel like if we make a motion to deny, it's kind of throwing the baby out with the bathwater. I mean, the PUD has a lot of other uses that are contemplated that we really didn't hear a lot of pushback on. And with that, I'd rather make a motion to defer this for 30 days to give the applicant a chance to, one, figure out the traffic, but also to visit with the neighborhood. Again, there are a lot of other uses. Seems like the pushback is on the entertainment and the establishment. Perhaps could be some compromises there, but we should give them an opportunity to do so.
I would second that substitute motion.
Okay, before we do that, Commissioner Thiessen, do you have any comments? Commissioner Fry?
Thank you. Would a removal of the entertainment establishment from an application be substantial enough of a change that they could come back even if it was denied today?
So if the ultimate action by city council, since it's a zone change, were to deny the whole application, they would have to come to this body to present an alternative application, and this body would have to deem whether or not it would be substantially different. If they came back with a PUD with everything but the entertainment establishment, we would still have it come before this body to determine whether or not it would be considered quote unquote substantially different.
But what would the time frame be?
So they could submit a request to ask the MAPC to consider whether or not the application was substantially different, really at any time. If this body deemed that the application was substantially different, they could reapply within 6 months of the Planning Commission hearing that denied the application.
Okay, Commissioner or Director Waito, I'm sorry, did you have a statement?
Oh, it's just real quick clarification on the deferral motion, 30 days. I just wanted to point out that would put you at about, the next meeting around then is September 24th.
Thank you. We can defer it to September 24th or no earlier than September 24th.
Okay, we have a substitute motion. Commissioner Warren?
Before we vote, want to check on people's expectations from a traffic standpoint. We normally don't like putting more entrances out on our major thoroughfare. Adding an entrance in the middle of this would just make the traffic that much worse. It would be, I think it'd be a real dangerous situation. So I think the traffic that they've got now is as good as you can get it. So I wouldn't think that there would be, I agree with others have said that you're gonna have a trickle effect coming out of this versus having everybody come out at the same time. So I'm not worried about traffic at all.
Thank you. Commissioner Williams, did you have a comment?
I have a question. It appears from what I'm hearing that the neighborhood doesn't want this facility there. So is deferring this really going to change their mind?
I'm pretty sure you already know that answer to that. Okay, but we do have a substitute motion. We do have a motion by Commissioner Austin and a second by Commissioner Joe Johnson that we need to clean up first. So I will ask for a voice count on a second motion to defer until the 24th, I believe it was.
It would be to the 24th. And sir, I know you said no earlier than, but for purposes of the public notice, staff would recommend that you do it on a date certain so we don't have to re-advertise.
Okay, and again, I want to clarify the purpose of that would be for what?
Again, it's to give the applicant an opportunity to have that neighborhood meeting to talk about the full gamut of uses, and then also to just understanding the comments relative to traffic, but at least have some discussion with the traffic engineer so we know with certainty on that particular issue.
Okay. Otherwise, if it is denied, then he would have to make significant changes in 6 months, and he could bring it back to the board. Okay, so we have an understanding of the motion and a second. Director Wado?
Yes, sir. Aldridge.
No.
Zimbelman. Fry. Mater. McKay. Dool. Bill Johnson.
Yes.
High.
Yes.
Klontz. Warren. Joe Johnson.
Yes.
Austin. Williams Bay. Thiessen. I show 6 in favor and 8 opposed.
That's what I show. That motion has failed. We will now go back to the motion for denial. Again, the motion maker, well, that was Commissioner Fry, and I believe I seconded it, if I remember that far ago. We will call that motion.
Yes, sir. For denial. Aldridge.
Yes.
Zimbelman. Fry. Mater. McKay. Dool. This is for denial. Yes, sir. Bill Johnson.
No.
High.
Yes.
Klontz. Warren. Joe Johnson. Austin. Williams Bay. Thiessen.
I show 8-6.
I show 9. Let me double check. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 8, 9. I show 9-5, sir.
Is that correct? Okay.
That's what Philip also has.
Okay, so that motion passed 9-5. Thank you. We will go to the, where are we at here now? Fourth, oh, shoot. Our final public hearing item, 4.5, zone case 2026-0003. Samuel, I believe you're presenting this one? Samuel, give it a few moments here to clear out. And also let the record show that Commissioner Zimmelman will be leaving. That brings us down to 13 members. And you're gonna abstain? Wait, no, that's the next one. Okay, Samuel, I believe we're ready.
All right, Samuel Dietz, presenting planner. Zone change 2026-36 and con 2026-101 is a request for 2 items. One is an amendment to protective overlay number 140 to change signage, lighting, architectural controls, and landscaping for a warehouse self-storage facility, as well as a conditional use for the warehouse self-storage facility in the GO General Office District with a waiver of supplementary use regulations 2, 4, 5, 13, and 17. The subject site is 8.64 acres in size and is zoned LC and GO. Is generally located on the east side of South 135th Street West and within 750 feet south of West Maple. The applicant has submitted 2 site plans for review, which are included as attachments to the staff report. Both provide 3 commercial lots fronting South 135th Street and a 180-foot deep reserve at the rear of the property. Alternative 1 proposes warehouse self-service storage across the remainder of the property on parcel 4, whereas alternative 2 proposes that approximately the north half of that remaining parcel would be warehouse self-service storage, whereas the south half abutting the golf course would be developed with patio homes. The subject site is located on property that is subject to the provisions of PO number 140. The applicant is requesting to amend this to allow greater flexibility in signage, remove the requirement for similar parking lot lighting, remove the requirements for landscaping that exceed the Wichita Landscape Code to provide greater flexibility regarding the installation of a masonry wall, remove architectural controls, and allow a wider variety of auto-oriented uses. Provisions 3, 7, and 13 of the protective overlay are proposed to be removed. These address major street improvements for 135th Street, that all parcels would share similar or consistent parking lot lighting, and that all buildings would share a uniform architectural character, color, texture, and the same predominant exterior building material. The applicant is also requesting the removal of restrictions on flashing signs, window signs, and building signs. In addition, signage would be allowed per the standards of the LC Limited Commercial District rather than the NR Neighborhood Retail District. Parcels 1 through 3 along 135th would be allowed 160 square feet of signage, with parcel 4 allowed 97 square feet. Staff is, however, recommending removal of these specific signage allocations, given that the total signage area allowed by the sign code is 493.6 square feet for all parcels, whereas the proposed PO would allow 577 square feet, and a protective overlay cannot allow for greater signage than the underlying zoning district. Staff is also recommending that regulations regarding monument signs, flashing signs, and building signs be maintained per the NR regulations, which mirror those in a number of the community unit plans and protective overlays of the area. Section 4B2 of the Unified Zoning Code requires screening of commercial properties when abutting or across the street from residential zoning. The protective overlay exceeds those regulations by requiring a 6-foot masonry wall along the south and east property lines. However, the applicant is proposing changes to this to allow evergreen planting in place of the masonry wall. Additionally, the masonry wall would only be required where those property lines are developed with commercial use. Staff is recommending approval of these changes to the wall. However, the increased landscaping is standard for the area, similarly in the nearby CUPs and POs. A plan for a pedestrian walk system is required per the protective overlay. The applicant is requesting that parcel 4 be exempted from the requirement. However, given that the development concept is not finalized, staff are recommending that no exemption for this be granted. The applicant has also proposed an additional provision, number 16, of the protective overlay that is recommended for removal by staff. The Unified Zoning Code already allows for an administrative adjustment, and if the plan director and zoning administrator determine that the proposed revisions will have negative impacts, an amendment to the conditional use is already required. The protective overlay currently restricts adult entertainment establishments, group homes, group residential, halfway houses, correctional placement residences, private clubs, taverns, drinking establishments, restaurants where food is not the primary service, restaurants with drive-in or drive-through service, convenience stores, service stations, car washes, and overhead doors for auto supply and service uses. The applicant has proposed removing restrictions on a number of these items. Staff is recommending allowing restaurants that serve liquor and restaurant drive-throughs, which with additional screening, but not allowing the other uses, which generate comparatively more noise pollution. And these are also similar to the neighboring CUPs and POs. Warehouse self-service storage is subject to supplementary use regulations in the GO district, which require that the site be located on an arterial street, that building setback and paving requirements prohibiting servicing or repairing motor vehicles, and requiring an on-site manager. The applicant is requesting a waiver of the use regulations 2, 4, 5, 13, and 17, which address the proximity to an arterial street, to landscaping yards, architectural design, signage, and a resident manager. The alternative 1 site plan does not currently meet supplementary use regulation 4, which requires the 15-foot landscaped yard along the south property line, whereas alternative 2 would meet this requirement. Apart from the landscape requirement, Development will require the site to come into compliance with the landscape code by providing landscape street yards along 135th Street, parking lot screening, and a landscape buffer. Character of the neighborhood is a mix of large-scale commercial along the arterial streets with residential along the local streets and a golf course. Properties to the north are zoned LC Limited Commercial with CUP DP 219 and PO 130. They're developed with large format retail and strip commercial. Property to the south and west are zoned SF5 and developed with a golf course, and property to the east is zoned SF5 and developed with single-family dwellings. The subject site was platted as part of the Auburn Hills 7th Edition in 1999, and in June 2004, the property was rezoned from MF18 to LC NGO with PO 140. No other zoning cases are associated with the subject site. The site does have access to 135th Street West, which is a paved 2-lane arterial with a dedicated turn lane, no bicycle facilities and sidewalks on both sides. Municipal services are in place, and Wichita Transit does not serve the site. The proposed application is in partial conformance with the 2035 Future Growth Concept Map of the Community Investments Plan, which designates the area as appropriate for new residential. The use of warehouse self-service storage is a commercial use and would generally not be appropriate for this site. However, the site has been zoned LCNGO since 2004, and the established PO and conditions of approval are designed to mitigate possible negative impacts to neighboring properties. The proposed application is in partial conformance with the locational guidelines of that plan. Locational Guideline 1A states that development should occur where necessary supporting infrastructure and services exist or are planned for extension. The proposed use is in a location with existing infrastructure and services. Under the heading Land Use Compatibility Guideline 3A, it states that except in mixed-use developments, residential and non-residential development areas generally should be separate and distinct with appropriate screening and buffering to ensure compatibility among land uses while maintaining connectivity among uses. Proposed use would include screening and buffering as required in the protective overlay. The request is also in conformance with the LC purpose statement in the Unified Zoning Code to accommodate retail, commercial, office, and all other complementary land uses. And it is in partial conformance with the Unified Zoning Code purpose statement for the GO district, which is to accommodate office development and other complementary land uses. If we could go to the site photos, please. This is looking south into the site. This is looking northeast into the site. This is looking north into the site. This is looking southeast into the site. This is looking south away from the site. This is looking west away from the site. And this is looking northeast away from the site. With that, staff have received 4 comments from the public with regards to the zone change and conditional use in opposition to the request. Those have been provided either as an attachment in the staff report or emailed to you. Staff are recommending approval of the request subject to the conditions of the conditional use and protective overlay based on the golden factors in the staff report. With that, I can stand for any questions.
Yep, Samuel, I got a quick question on the site plans that was submitted. You got site plan number 1 on page 13 and the alternative site plan on 2, where it shows the property lines on the south, I believe that's the south side, going towards the lake there. Is that looks like there's an encroachment. Is that on the golf course, if you will, the cart path encroaching on the property, or is the property encroaching on the bike path?
Yeah, so as it currently stands, the golf cart path is slightly onto this property.
Any questions yeah, Commissioner Austin?
Yeah, Samuel, on your recommendations for approval, item number 1 says the conditional use component of it shall only apply to parcel 4, and it references a proposed site plan. Since there's 2 concept site plans attached, is that in reference to either alternative 1 or alternative 2?
Essentially, it'd be whichever site plan is approved. So both those site plans identify a parcel 4. So if alternative 2 is the one they want to move forward with, which reduces the size of the warehouse self-storage, then the conditional use applies to that portion of the site.
So today's action, we will be talking about both of those site plans as being either one or the other, or both?
We can defer to the agent. My understanding is that the option A was what they submitted with the application. They turned around and submitted option number 2 as they had more time to think that that's likely where they're looking to move forward with to provide some possible residential development along the golf course. I guess is under the purview of the MAPC to essentially decide between the 2 as well.
Does planning staff have, did you have alternative 2? I guess you did when you prepared the staff reports. Do you guys have a preference?
Did our perspective was we reviewed it based on the ask for conditional use for warehouse self-storage in the GO zoning, regardless of if it was the whole backside of the property or if it was just a portion thereof. And so, with what was submitted with the application showed the whole back portion, the whole GO being developed. And so really, I don't think our recommendation changes regardless of which one, because at the very beginning, we were seeing that it was going to be the whole thing.
Okay, thank you.
And also, Samuel, on the red lines that we're seeing, what are, the staff still stand by the original conditions as far as not eliminating those items on the existing protective overlay that was stated?
Based on the nearby community unit plans and protective overlays that have that same language, staff are recommending those be maintained.
Thank you. The agent or applicant available? And also to the audience, you will have your time to speak. Just bear with us a little bit.
Good afternoon. Thomas Joyce again with Baughman Company, 315 South Ellis, agent for the applicant. With me today are Brandon Wilson and Paul Solentrop, partners in the application. If there are any specific questions that I can't quite get a handle on. Going through here, we are in agreement with staff comments except for item number 3 in the PO text about the signage. Number 4 about the sidewalk. And then number 15 with the drive-through restaurant. But just to kind of walk through a little bit, I got a little bit of a history lesson going through this. I was informed back in the 1990s as Wichita was expanding west. Marvin Kraut put together the Far West Wichita policy that limited the commercial around these arterial streets to only 24 acres. And my calculation, we're now up to 36.9 acres of limited commercial right at this intersection. So bring that up to say that as the city has expanded further west, that the commercial has expanded with it. And so I understand that there is the desire of the planning staff to kind of match a lot of the surrounding POs and CUP plans. And so we agree with quite a bit of that, but getting into the signage, if we stick with neighborhood retail, that's 32 square feet of signage. Researching other parcels in that area, other parcels, the minimum there is 48 square feet. And so we're being restricted even more than what the other parcels are. And then the 48 foot is on this Sonic right here on the corner. The Dillons, they've got like 144. This Walgreens, it's got 48 along 135th and 96 along Maple. These ones here along Auburn Hills Commercial, they've got, I believe it is 120. Wrong site plan. I believe they've got 96 square feet. And so we feel like going down to 32 just isn't consistent with that area. So we would ask it, that was kind of some math error on my part. Like Commissioner Aldridge said, a public school graduate here. And so our calculation was incorrect. The 493 that the staff came up with is actually correct if we were sticking with LC signage. And so that's what we would be asking for today. Moving down toward the number 4 about the pedestrian walk system, we're asking to exempt parcel 4. And really for either site plan, but both of them with that warehouse usage or the storage usage, those would be gated and fenced off for security purposes. And so we feel like, and there's not really a lot of kind of through traffic. We'd be crossing over the detention to the east. So just don't really see how a pedestrian system accomplishes a goal back there. And if we go with the residential site plan, these patio homes, with how the utility companies and with where the water and sewer would lay out, we would have to front load a lot of our utilities. And we would be doing a narrow street right away. So when you get into narrow street with all the front load utilities, there just isn't a lot of square footage or real estate left to put a sidewalk on. And so that's why we're asking to exempt parcel 4. Finally, on item number 15 with specifically the drive-through restaurants, again, going back to kind of the general area of that intersection, there is a drive-through restaurant already there at the Sonic. There is a drive-through bank, both with the Ameritrust and the Kansas Bank. There's a drive-through with the Walgreens. There's a drive-through with the Scooter's Coffee Shop that is up over this way. So we feel like there are several drive-through uses already, and it's I can understand maybe that you say the restaurants are a bit higher volume, vehicular volume count. We just I think that there are several other areas, but specifically when it comes to screening along residential zoning, the adjacent residential zoning are not actually residential uses. They're the driving range for the Auburn Hills Golf Course, and then the maintenance facility that's right here. And then we've got hole 1 along here. And so I live in this area. I take 135th south to Kellogg every day. And so when they were redoing the putting green and the chipping green back over here, they had this whole area lined up with all their heavy equipment, all their new sod. Whenever they cut down trees over the winter or in the springtime, this is where their dead branches end up going. So we don't really understand if we do a drive-through here and have to screen, if the drive-through, the site plan has the drive-through come along the frontage, why we're screening from these heavier uses of big equipment or lawnmowers or the ball carts that pick up all the driving range balls. So we just feel like if it were residential uses, if this were back up against houses, that's one thing. This is a large open driving range that the city uses for their storage. So we feel like that is unnecessary. With that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Is there any questions for the agent? Saying none. Thank you. Is there anyone? Yes.
Can I
Phil?
ask a clarifying question of Thomas?
Yes.
Based on his remarks, just for the record, so you all know and staff is also aware, depending on how this goes. Thomas, when you're talking about the signage on number 3.
Yes.
Just for clarification, are you asking, so under F, there are delineations per parcels?
Yes.
Parcels 1 through 3 getting 160 square feet each, and parcel 4, 97 square feet. Are you asking that that be reinstated?
We are asking, so I'll fess up to the math there, that 160 would, again, as we've discussed, would put us over what would be allowed. And so understanding that the PO doesn't allow us to go over, we would actually ask to be at the limit that the PO allows, which is that 493.6.
Okay, so you're just asking for straight up LC rights.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes, Commissioner Austin.
Yeah, Thomas had a quick question on that, follow-up question. So on number 4, parcel 4, which doesn't have street frontage, where would that be located? Where would its sign be located within the site plan?
Yep. So we've talked with Philip and JR about that. We are looking at either carving out a little reserve along 135th and putting the parcel signage there. You know, just a little 5 by 10 or something.
Okay, I guess question for staff then is the off-site signage where it's within the same commercial development, is that, we can do that, right, without a CUP or anything like that? That's still permittable that way?
My understanding from the zoning administrator, having brought this question to him, was that because the site is all governed by the PO, that having signage for parcel 4 along the arterial was allowed, especially since that part of the property is zoned LC.
Okay, thank you.
Any additional questions, comments? Seeing none, thank you. Is there anyone from the audience that would like to speak on this matter? Yes, sir. Please come to the podium. Please come to the podium. State your name and your address for our records, please.
Yeah, I'm John O'Borney. I live at 13315 West Hayden Street. And I was just wanting some clarification because, oh, you changed it. Can you go back to the last one?
Was that
One with like the warehouses on it?
Site plan.
Okay.
Can you
so
go
No,
to
the site plans.
Okay, that's
Okay,
that's the
yeah.
second,
Now, is this gonna be for warehouses or is that gonna be storage units?
storage units.
Storage units, okay. Go to the other plan then.
Sir, can you speak a little more closer to the mic? Thank
Oh,
you.
I'm sorry. Go back to the other map then. There's 2 renderings and you're actually looking at 2 possible things today. And so is that going to be basically storage units with possible restaurant?
My understanding is that it would be potentially homes on the south end, and then you would have storage on the north end, and then commercial uses up along 135th.
Okay, I didn't know that. I didn't know homes was in the thing. I was just trying to get a better idea of what it was going to be because I've lived there for 25 years, and when I'm the president of the enclave, and it's like I always thought it was going to be like duplexes and stuff like that. Then all of a sudden this comes up, and anyway, okay, sorry.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else would like to speak on this matter?
Oh, I was going to speak. But
Okay,
I wanted to.
okay, ma'am, if you'd like to speak on this, please come to the podium, state your name and address for our records.
Hello, my name is Rita Linens. I live at 128 North Rainbow Lake Road, which is basically a mile north of the proposed site. I just have 5 quick points. One is that I believe that this detracts from Auburn Hills Golf Course. I feel it has the potential with storage units to be an eyesore and therefore a negative impact on property values and the tax base. The east side of 135th consists of homes that range in value from $500,000 to $1 million. So I am asking you to deny this because I strongly object to this kind of use of a natural area And one of the things that the pictures that they took did not show were all the people that walk along that sidewalk. Thank you.
And thank you. Is there anyone else from the audience who'd like to speak on this? And you know the routine.
Good afternoon. My name is Stephanie Wise. My address is 513 South Sandtrap Court, and I'm here speaking as a homeowner within the notification area on behalf of myself and some of my neighbors that we met with earlier this week. I'll also disclose that I'm a commercial broker, so I like commercial buildings, and I like the people that are developing this. So I'm not here to simply oppose development of the property, but recognize the owners and recognize the owner's right to develop it. But our concern is just making sure that whatever it is and whatever's approved is compatible with the neighborhood that's already there. We were not aware of the second alternative, so everything I'm saying is probably going to be a little bit off because we thought it was just storage units. I do appreciate having some screening with some patio homes, so that was a relief. But I ask that you take golden factors specifically as you consider the character of the neighborhood and the uses of nearby property, the potential detrimental effect on neighboring properties, and those that are particularly that I would like to point out are residential property values. Rita mentioned that. Second, and probably the most important to me personally, is screening and lighting. If it's storage units, there's lots of lights, lots of security. My home is on the screen when you really zoom in and look at the site plan. So this is going to be my backyard. Third is the traffic and the access points on 135th. On 135th, it's 40 miles per hour. There's curvature to the road. There is a lot of access drives already. So I would just ask that you take consideration to the safety that this added development would add to an already really busy road with a lot of people that are trying to cross the traffic and they're turning. With the commercial development, perhaps it's not going to be as intrusive with the second site plan that we were able to see, but I think we really need to take into consideration the load that 135th is taking on with Central and 135th, developing the population of Goddard right there at that intersection. I'm skipping around because it changed. So specifically, we asked for protections addressing property values, screening and buffering, building orientation and appearance, lighting, hours of operation, noise, security, traffic, and access to 135th Street. We believe this property can be developed while still protecting the character and value of Auburn Hills and the neighboring golf course. We simply ask that those protections be established now as a part of this approval rather than relying on them to be addressed later. Thank you, and I'll stand for any questions.
Any questions for the, yes?
Yeah,
Mr. Austin?
question for you, Stephanie. From your backyard, can you see the back of the Dillons?
I can, yes.
There's not much in the way of landscaping or existing
There's no
trees.
landscaping. There's behind some of my neighbors, there's a little bit of berm and buildup from the golf course, but it's a line sight for me.
Okay, and you can see the loading dock and the loading areas as well at the back of the Dillons.
I mean, yeah, I'm sure I can.
Okay. And then you mentioned in your comments about the second site plan with the possibility of patio homes or housing.
Yeah.
Do you feel like that would be a better solution for?
Much better use and utilization of the golf course. It's a great view for me and my family. I think others could enjoy that too.
Okay, thank you.
Any additional questions for the speaker?
Can you show us where you live?
Sure. Do you want me to show you on this screen, or do you want me to go to
There's a
closer up?
mouse, there should be a mouse up there. Don't
All
be
right,
afraid
mine
of it.
is right here. Yeah.
It's a tame mouse. It won't jump on you or nothing.
What's that?
It's a tame mouse. It won't jump on you.
I couldn't tell if you could see it from there.
Okay, any
Thank
additional
you.
questions or comments for the speaker? Saying none, thank you.
Thank you.
Much appreciated. Is there anyone else that would like to speak on this matter? Yes, sir, please come to the podium, state your name and address for our records.
My name is Joey Weisinger. I live at 365 South Emile Court right here. My concern with this development is there's no need for storage in this area. There's 2 other self-storage units within 1 mile of this intersection, both along Kellogg. One on the north side of Kellogg named Prime Storage, one on the south side of Kellogg named West Wichita Storage. West Wichita Storage is not done being developed. They're still adding units to it, and they're far from capacity at this point. What this area mainly needs to me as a resident is honestly more office. I know he mentioned we shouldn't have any more acreage of that, but if you look at the commercial buildings here, this strip here, currently no vacancies. This strip here, no vacancies. Everything else is a single building. There's no office spaces. The vacant building that you see here, this vacant lot, is currently being built as a Chipotle. There's obviously a demand to have more accessible things here. As we get farther away from the intersection, even down to 119th and Maple to the east, there's no vacancies in the office buildings there as well. As far west Wichita continues to grow, more office buildings are going to be needed for that area. That's all I got. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Is there anyone else that'd like to speak on this item? If not, we'll go back to the, yes, sir. Well, no, sir, I'm sorry. You've already spoken. Yep, sir. Yeah, you've already spoken, sir. Is there anyone else new? Yes, ma'am. Please come to the podium, your name and address.
Yes, I'm Carolyn Oborny. I live at 13315 West Hayden. And one of the things that's bothered us most, and I live in the Enclave area, which we're kind of right by Stephanie. We're in that area. Number one, those of us saw a sign go up, and that's it. But it wasn't a long time ago. It was, when did you put your signs up? Just recently. So none of us knew about it. They haven't talked to any of us. I live right adjacent to them, same area as Stephanie. But why can they not come out and talk to us so we could get really good clarification of what they're thinking of putting in? Because it sounds like I'm hearing 2 different things. So number one, we need clarification. I think it needs to be done later. And I think as a homeowner, I don't want that next to me. I agree with the person that said there's storage units around us. So I think number one, as commissioners, can you guys say, hey, let them talk to us, have a meeting over there at Auburn Hills Clubhouse. People will show up, but we had no idea until that sign went up. And then last week, the sign was down. So none of us even knew if it was still occurring. So meet with the people, see what we have to say. Maybe it can still all work out. So I just wanted you guys to realize that none of us have talked to them. And it's kind of like, okay, this is my backyard, guys. And a golf course, and then have a storage unit. And we have a detective that lives in our area, and he said, right down the street from us, he said that actually any of those storage units is the number one area for as far as being burglary. And so he says, you need to make sure that the commissioners know that, you know, what they do with the storage units, if they were further back, that's one thing, but we already have 2 right by us. So that was all I wanted to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for your comments. Is there anybody else who would like to speak on it who hasn't already spoke? Seeing none, I will bring it back to the agent for the applicant for rebuttal.
Speaking with my clients, we're willing to lock into the second site plan there that shows the patio homes. I think that would help mitigate some of the concerns about screening and pollution, you know, light pollution and handling that. Again, there's a lot of talk of you know, storage units, self-storage. These are going to be garage condos. They're not going to be rented out. They're going to be purchased for anywhere between $150,000 and $250,000. So kind of the concern about the you know, the folks that that's a different market than what maybe people have in their mind, is what we're proposing to do here. And then as far as the traffic, this has been platted with I believe it's Auburn Hills 7th edition. And so with that plat, the access control points were set back with the plat. If we going with this site plan, we would actually have to go through the replatting process, and that would open back up for, again, Mike Armour with the City Traffic Engineering Department to look at the access controls and make sure that we're setting those access points in the best and safest location to mitigate that concern. So those are kind of what I've kind of picked up from the neighbors to help address that. But again, we're asking for more signage than the neighborhood retail would permit. We're asking to exempt parcel 4 from the walk plan, and we're asking for the restriction of 150 foot on the drive-through restaurants either be reduced to 120 feet. That's the full right of way over here, or be removed entirely. And that's my time.
Thank you. One of the concerns that I have is you got me confused. The application basically was tied into warehouse self-storage.
Yes.
And now we're talking about single slab homes on a separate site. To me, that needs to be 2 separate applications. It's one or the other. And the way staff's comments, the recommendations, and everything else is geared towards the storage units. So I think, I'm not quite sure if you seem confused to me on what exactly is going on, and I don't know why you submitted a alternative site plan.
Yeah, that was not my intention at all. So we had worked up our first site plan. The Solentrops got involved a little bit later, and kind of in talking with all the partners involved, thought that the second site plan was going to be the best use of the area. And then in talking through with the planning staff, we basically were never told not to turn in both site plans, and then even number 16 in the PO text, that was kind of drafted particularly to allow some flexibility is maybe not the right word, but as kind of things got more clear, that we could keep going that direction, and not be have to jump through the whole process just over some changes.
I just would think that you would have, a concrete plan together, that what you're trying to do, and, and not muddy the waters with the second site plan, and, it totally went off the rails a little bit. So those are my comments. Commissioner Williams-Bay.
Just for clarification, you're talking about storage units that are going to be sold?
Yes.
And they would be for like exotic cars or antique cars or?
Yep. I know somebody who purchased a condo to store his pinball machines in. So he's a pinball enthusiast, and that's his space.
Yeah. Yeah, there's some that's not too far from where I live, and they store, it's like a man cave. They can have TVs set up in there and stuff like that. So that's what you're talking about.
Correct. Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Austin?
Yeah, question for you, Thomas. One of the things that seems might be a small oversight in the protective overlay is height restriction. As under GO, the allowable height is 60 feet, plus you get some setbacks allowances, and then under LC, I think it's 85 feet. But if I'm not mistaken, the Dillons to the north is under a CUP, which typically we do like 35 feet or something. So I don't know. I guess it's a question for you whether you would be receptive to some height limitations, or a question for Philip as to whether staff had some thoughts on that. Just
Philip.
So as it's zoned right now, because the golf course is zoned SF5, and then there's some residential properties to the east that are zoned SF5. Compatibility setbacks and height requirements come into play. Height is limited to 35 feet within 50 feet of an SF5 property, even if it's a golf course. There's a ratio of 3 to 1 that they could achieve taller than 35 feet for every 3 feet farther setback. So at 53 feet, you get 36 foot high building. And so then your setbacks are at play along the golf course and then the eastern property line. So though they're not specifically stated in the PO, the zoning code has protections because of the zoning that's around it.
But has anyone done a calculation like for buildings up against the north property line, what the LC, what those would be? Because then that wouldn't be in play.
Sure, and to your point, if you wanted to consider making something concrete across the whole property to avoid the ratio, that compatibility would give them, you're obviously welcome to add that as a provision.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner High?
So if I understood you right, then you're amicable with alternative 2.
Yes.
With the patio homes. But I'd kind of like to probably suggest that we defer this for you to go back and meet with the neighbors with the alternative 2 and discuss some options and make this a little more clear for the commission, because it seems we're going back and forth and then we're talking about height restrictions. And so I would be inclined to defer this for the applicant to A, meet with the neighborhood association, and B, get a solid plan for alternative 2.
Okay, I'm gonna ask the agent for the applicant. Is that something that you would have a problem with?
I'll defer to the clients.
Okay.
Name and address?
Yes.
Brian Solentrop, 12109 West Autumn Ridge, Wichita, Kansas, 67235. I guess just to speak to a little bit of the clarification of the confusion, we're actually not the applicant. The applicant brought us in on this project basically the same week that this was submitted to the city. And as you guys know, the process to do this takes several weeks. And so with staff's recommendation, they said, even though it might change, the site might change, go ahead and submit it so that we can get this process moving, and then submit another site plan as you have it ready. And so that's the explanation on the confusion of the site plan. So we were brought into this project very recently, as developers. And so, and then, I mean, there is a timeline on closing on this, and deferring it would push us way past that timeline as far as what I know from what the other one got deferred. So, so that would be detrimental. I mean, we're here to clear up anything that you have questions about. I mean, we're happy to answer any questions if there's confusion. But yeah, site plan 2 is really what we plan to go with. And again, not storage units, not renting, garage condos. This would be our third project of these in town that we've done. So.
Okay, I think, sir, I appreciate your comments, but I really feel pretty strong that if you're looking at switching gears and going to the alternate site plan, you know, we've got to get staff time, you know, to review it, to make their comments. And I don't believe that they were, you know, we were presented strictly as a warehouse self-storage type deal, and you know, what you're coming up with residential is a total different.
Hi, Paul Solentrop for East Peachtree Lane, Eastboro. The reason I think it just generally falls under storage units, because that's just the group that it goes in. There's no group that fits garage condos. That doesn't. It's kind of a quasi middle ground, and so that's what, you know, that's sort of lending to some of the confusion.
Well, my idea of single slab are residential homes, but you know, we're talking about
Philip, can you?
Garage condos now, which, you know, I just think that it needed to be cleaned up an awful lot.
Philip, can you speak to staff and how you took this and with the change and what you recommended? I mean, you basically your recommendation was based on both site plans, right? Staff?
As we stated before, the conditions of approval for the conditional use for warehouse self-storage apply to wherever warehouse self-storage would be built, whether it was the entirety of the rear half of the property or just a portion of it. The amendments to the PO apply to existing zoning standards that are already there, the GO and the LC. Any modifications there too don't change whether or not a portion of the backside is built with patio homes or the backside is built with warehouse self-storage. So our recommendation is based on whether it was the first site plan or the second site plan. There's nothing in our recommendation that would change if site plan 2 was the one that was submitted the first time.
Well, I just wish staff would have clarified that earlier during staff presentations, that it can be either or on that, because I don't like the way it's set up. Commissioner McKay?
I think that we approve one or the other and not leave it open, correct?
Well, sir, you have the option. Here's what I would point out, that not in the PO language, but in the recommendation, there are conditions, and part of the conditions, number 5, is that development of the site shall be in general conformance with the approved site plan. Now, they're gonna have to revise the site plan and get a final approval on that by staff even after it's done here. But what you can do as the MAPC is you can say it's gotta be in substantial conformance with site plan 1 or site plan 2, whichever one you prefer, if you want to narrow it down to one of those two options.
But my question was, we have to approve site plan 2 or site plan 1. You can't.
We have to, with the recommendation that staff have put forward, it works with either site plan, either one. So you don't have to necessarily pick one. You can say, hey, we like them both. We'll give the applicant the option to come back with whichever one they prefer. Or if you've got a strong preference, you can say, yeah, only for number 2, only for number 1.
Okay, so based on what you just said, they were talking about a delay would hurt the project. Sounds like they're gonna have a delay regardless because they don't have the proper site plan, number 1. And let these folks know about how much time it's gonna take from, regardless of what we do today, for them to get this thing through if they're on a timetable.
I think
Commissioner Williams, did you have a question or comment?
I do. Is option number 2, that includes patio homes and the storage units?
And commercial lots.
Commercial lots, okay.
Okay. Commissioner Mader?
A question for the applicant. Just to completely try to clear this up and make it as clear as we can, and usually I confuse it when I do that. But if we were to look at alternative 2, forget about alternative 1, that seems to be off the table. If we were to approve this per staff comments, would that be acceptable to you today? Does that keep your project moving? Is that what you're trying to accomplish at this point? Sounds like you changed gears kind of in the middle. So would that be what you're trying to accomplish today?
We were brought in kind of midstream. And so we developed site plan 2. We didn't develop site plan 1. Somebody else did.
That
So
was
we
my
came
question.
in, and so yes, so site plan 2 is what we're interested in doing.
And as representative to the applicant, that's, you would be willing to, it'd work for you all if we accepted 2 with staff recommendations.
Correct. It keeps us on our timeline.
That seems to be what the neighborhood wants, and it seems to be here. We've got alternative 2. We've got a good plan, it looks like. So I think we can move with it today and get it done.
Commissioner High?
Well, I think Tom's had, though, with exceptions.
That's correct. There were 3 that we wanted to have you guys vote on, essentially.
And that's where I get hung up on, they've got exceptions. And so, that's why I'm saying, this is why I'm recommended that we talk to the neighborhood, go through the exceptions and see if we can get some sort of a compromise.
Okay, any additional comments, Commissioner Fry?
Thank you. So, may I ask Thomas, are there different exceptions in Plan 2 from Plan 1?
No, those exceptions are the same.
So, since staff is recommending both plans meet and the exemptions are the same, then we should be able to approve Plan 2 today. Since that's what they're in agreement with, staff's in agreement with, they're clear that they want Plan 2. We've heard from the neighborhood that they like alternative Plan 2. The exemptions aren't different between the two. We could be able to move forward. I'll make a motion that we approve.
Before we do that, we did have a motion.
Did we?
Yes, didn't you make a motion to
No,
defer?
I said I'm inclined to.
Okay, I apologize, Commissioner Fry.
Thank you. So I make a motion that we approve for staff recommendations on item number 5 of the POU to be with approved site plan number 2.
Okay,
Is that clear?
And all the other conditions.
And all the other conditions?
Stay per staff recommendations.
Correct.
And I will second that.
Okay, Commissioner Dill. Okay. Commissioner Joe Johnson, do you have any additional comments on that?
Yes. Is it necessary that we approve a site plan to do what they're asking to do?
If you don't, it is not necessarily at this stage. It's not necessarily required. However, it sounds like there is a preference from the MAPC in order to provide some certainty. And so you have the discretion to be able to tell us which one they need to be in substantial conformance with, which is what I'm gathering from this motion.
And I will say that is why I made my motion the way it is, because we heard from members of the public as well as the discussion that we had here. That's why I worded it that way.
Okay.
Okay, just for clarification, on your motion, you want to remove the architectural or designs or the?
Staff recommendations.
All right. Okay, so we have a motion for approval for staff recommendations with no exemptions. Is that correct? Or exemption of?
Only on item number 5 to be specific to site plan number 2.
Okay. And I'm sorry, who was the second on that? Commissioner Mader, second it. If there's no other additional comments, I'm going to call the vote. All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Opposed, same sign. The motion passed, what have we got, 12-1? 12-1. We are done with the public comments section. Now we will move to the non-public comment section. And Commissioner Bill Johnson.
I'm going to abstain from this item. I own property adjacent to this case that's coming up.
Well, have a good day. Okay, Philip, give me just a second here. Okay, Philip, before you get going, I do want to make a comment on this. This is a non-public item. And the only authority that we have is pretty limited on whether or not we feel that it is consistent with the adoption of the Sedgwick County Comprehensive Plan. So with that in mind, Philip?
Yes, Philip Zevenbergen with planning staff. DER 2616 is an annexation review regarding the advisability of proposed unilateral annexation by the city of Goddard. With some background information, on July 20th, 2026, the city of Goddard passed resolution number 2638 to authorize a public hearing on September 21st, 2026 for the purpose of considering the unilateral annexation of the property that is shown on the screen, which is 18001 West Highway 54. Prior to unilaterally annexing the property, Kansas statute requires that the plan be prepared indicating the means by which the city services would be extended to the area proposed for annexation. The City of Goddard submitted to the Planning Department a copy of their service plan that describes the extension of services to the annexation area. In general, the existing water main is located on the south side of US Highway 54 in the right-of-way abutting to the site. The service plan identifies that sewer mains are being actively extended for industrial development in this area so that they're nearby and provides the opportunity for extension to the subject site. Thank you, Muhammad. Kansas statute governing unilateral annexation provide for an official notification to certain local officials, including planning commissions having jurisdiction in the area. The Planning Commission is required to review the proposal and make a finding of compatibility or incompatibility with the adopted land use or comprehensive plan related to the area and the annexing city. So your job today is to consider this item and make a finding that the requested annexation is compatible with the adopted community investments plan. If you want to go to the urban growth area map, after reviewing by staff has determined that the unilateral annexation falls within the City of Goddard's 2035 urban growth area as designated in the Community Investments Plan, which was adopted on November 19th, 2015. The City of Goddard's future land use map identifies it in the City of Goddard's comprehensive plan as well. If you were to zoom out even farther, essentially this is an island of the unincorporated area of Sedgwick County that is surrounded by property within the city limits of Goddard. So it is within the urban growth area of the City of Goddard, and we find that it is in conformance with the comprehensive plan. Therefore, it is a recommended action is that the Planning Commission pass a finding that the unilateral annexation proposed by the City of Goddard, resolution number 2638, to be consistent with the adopted Sedgwick County Comprehensive Plan. And I can stand for any questions.
Is there any questions for Philip? Seeing none, Philip, thank you. Bring it back to the board. Again, what we're here for is to determine whether the proposed unilateral annexation is consistent with the adoption of the Wichita-Sedgwick County Comprehensive Plan. I will make a motion that it so be it that it is. Is there a second?
Second.
We have motion by Commissioner Aldridge and a second by Commissioner Thiessen. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. The motion has passed. If there's no other matters, we are adjourned.